Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to episode 13 of the Whatnauts Reactor Corps. My name is Kyle Springer, and I am joined by Melissa Wilkinson. Melissa, how are you?
I'm good, Kyle. How are you today?
Doing pretty well. I just woke up not too long ago from a nap. I stuffed my face with some Chinese food, and I have a shot of tequila in me, so things are
How
going
multicultural.
well. Yeah, exactly. Let's see. So if you guys didn't know, ladies and gentlemen, we cover all sorts of big movie blockbusters here on the Reactor Corps. This is our excuse to talk about the latest and greatest, whether it's a movie or a Netflix show or something like that. This week, however, we are going to be talking about Spider-Man Far From Home. Mm-hmm. We saw that not too long ago. We're recording this on a Saturday evening, so it's the Saturday after
Wednesday. Did you get in there Tuesday night?
I went Monday night at midnight.
Oh,
yeah. This was actually the first midnight showing I've been to in years. Because they all do they all say that movies come out on Friday nowadays, but we all know that that's not true. They all come out Thursday night. But yeah, it's usually like a Thursday evening showing is when I'll go. But because of the holiday for 4th of July here in the U.S., I shouldn't say we because I'm not a part of it, but they moved it up. They
you
moved
also
up the
helped.
date.
You contributed.
Yeah, I was like, hey, move that date up, and they were like, okay, Kyle. But yeah, so you went on Wednesday. What was that like?
I had gotten very little sleep the night before.
Oh boy.
We were over this. You and I talked about this on another podcast, how my water was out, so I had to drive to my parents' house in the middle of the night to go take a shower after I got home from some evening plans, and it took forever.
Find that on the whatnauts.com. It's the latest episode of the Captain's Log.
Yeah, a whole ordeal. So I didn't get to bed till 2:30 or something, and then I had to work that day. So I was running low on sleep. I'm like, oh no. I have to have high energy for my boy. That's what he expects. That's what he needs. So I drank a giant coffee that day, and I just played really loud, energetic music. And I got okay, there's gum in my purse. There's candy in my purse. I have enough to keep myself active.
Perfect.
For Spider-Man.
Perfect. I almost did the same thing. I normally go to bed at 2 or 3 at night anyways, so a midnight showing, I would have gotten home at 3 and just gone to bed. So it's not much of different, but it still was I need to be fully awake for this and paying attention, not half asleep watching some TV show, you know? So I got home from work that day and I just took a nap. I slept until I had to go. Yeah, I was just I'm just gonna go to bed.
Wish I could nap that easy.
My naps end up being 4 hours long, though.
Yeah.
So, there you go. Melissa, what did you think of the film? What were your general thoughts and impressions?
I had a really fun time. This gave me what I wanted out of it and a lot of stuff I didn't know I wanted.
Okay. There you go. Yeah, I think for me, I really liked it a lot. I had a lot of fun. However, I don't know if it tops the first one. I don't think it does. It's weird. They're almost so different, but they're not at the same time. I don't know. We'll get into spoilers in a bit here, but I had a lot of fun. I think the highs of this film were very high. I think the lows of this film were kind of low, unfortunately, which I think that's part of why I'm not sure if it lives up to the first one, because there were parts where I was I'm kind of bored right now with some of the stuff happening. But yeah, it's really funny. I laughed so much.
Yes.
So I'm excited to talk about this. I think this was a good palate cleanser after the events of Avengers Endgame,
Yes.
which I guess if you haven't seen Endgame and
Uh,
you're watching
uh,
this, you probably shouldn't watch this because we
I
will
think you've made a
be
mistake,
spoiling
friend.
that. Yeah, and we're also going to be spoiling this film, so spoilers will be happening. Um, but yeah, I think
Mm.
this is the official end of Phase 3.
And I get it now.
Yeah,
Like,
I
we were
I
being
think so
told
too.
that, but so I knew it, but I could feel it when I really sat down and watched it. Like, oh, that's why you put this one here. That's why this is the end of 3 and not the start of 4. Okay.
Which yeah, I understood that. I got that too. I also think it would have worked perfectly as the start of Phase 4, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
But yeah, I mean, like they kind of did the same thing with Ant-Man when the first Ant-Man came out. That was right after Age of Ultron, if I'm not mistaken. Um, or no, because they referenced the Sokovia. They just dropped a city, so it was after Civil War, where they do this. No, fuck. What am I talking about?
I'm trying to piece together the order of these also. I don't remember when
Now I'm all
Ant-Man came
confused.
out.
I'm gonna look
Read
it
us
up.
the order,
I
please.
think it was um after Age of Ultron, and it worked as a good palate cleanser. The very first Ant-Man, I think.
Okay.
Order of
Well, the second
MCU
Ant-Man was
movies.
last year, yeah.
Yeah, let's see here. MCU movies order. I don't know why I'm blanking on this right now. Scroll to. Why isn't that just? I don't want a full article.
Please, just release order list.
I need a goddamn listicle. Guardians of the Galaxy, Age of Ultron, yeah, and then immediately after that was Ant-Man.
Okay.
Both of those were in 2015. But you remember when
Oh,
Age of
yeah, I get
Ultron
that.
came out? That was that like the trailers for that one was the first one where things were kind of starting to go a lot darker and you know all of
Yeah.
that stuff. So it was like, oh, this is gonna be heavy, this is gonna be intense, it's gonna be
Mm.
amazing. And
And
then
then
Ant-Man
Ant-Man.
after that. And it's just like it's this almost like turn, just like complete 180.
Yes.
And I think that
Yes.
was almost what this did too. Like the emotional weight of
Mhm.
Endgame, it was so heavy, it was so tense, and then you have this, and it's good fun, and it's you laugh the entire
Yeah.
time.
I think uh if you've seen a trailer for this, you know, and even if you haven't seen the trailer, you can expect this is a lot about Peter and his looking back on his relationship with Tony Stark and the
Yeah.
world's relationship with Tony Stark.
Hmm.
And I feel like the MCU wants to really like honor the legacy of like the character that helped build this entire franchise into what it is, but also really set up a path for all of these new heroes and all these new characters.
Yeah,
And so I think
exactly.
this being the end of the arc instead of the beginning of one was really appropriate. I like the final touches of Iron Man that were in this
Yeah.
that I don't think could have. Ew, this is season finale stuff. This isn't really season premiere stuff.
Yeah. Sounds good. Sounds good. Um, well, here's what we normally do on these
Yeah.
things. We just gave our general thoughts and all of that stuff. We're about to get into spoilers.
Mhm.
So again, if you have not seen the film, we are about to spoil the mess out of it. We're gonna do a recap and use that as a launching off point to talk about the film. We'll talk about Easter eggs and stuff as we go or at the end, and we'll just have some fun after
Mhm.
this. So we are now officially in spoilers. There
Mhm.
we go. I fixed the spoiler alert thing. I know we tried to use it last
Mhm.
episode, which we did on Toy Story 4,
Yes.
and I hit the button, and it was just like bleh,
Mhm.
nothing, and I was like, oh come on. Oh well.
Mhm.
But it's fixed now, so there we go. We had our thing. Um, so I have my notes here for this stuff.
I,
Melissa, as
I
normal, chime in whenever you
yeah,
want.
I do want to say normally, well, lately we have been trying to take a chronological approach to the movies and try and give a little bit of a recap and not just like assorted thoughts. But Kyle, we have to start at the end
Okay.
because the mid-credit scene for this film is
Yes,
the most surprising, the happiest, one of the most joyous moments I have ever experienced in a film.
absolutely.
The mid-credit scene, it's, the last time you saw Spider-Man before
J.
the
Jonah
credits.
Jameson!
Yeah.
And it's J.K. Simmons!
It is. Spider-Man was flying around town and then he stops and he watches, a big TV screen there and in Times Square and there's a news report and yeah, our boy, he's back. Our angry newspaper dad is back. And you could see, like, okay, I would imagine this is a very big, very popular character. They would bring in J. Jonas Jameson. But to bring back J.K.
J.K.
Simmons
Simmons, yeah.
specifically is mind
And
boggling.
I read something that when they struck the deal with Sony to like use Spider-Man in the Avengers films and stuff like that, and kind of have the Spider-Man films be in the MCU, that this was one of the things that was on the list. They were like, at some point, we want to bring in J. Jonah Jameson's, and we want it to be J.K. Simmons. But that being said, it's not the same one. They made sure like it is the same actor playing the same character, but it is a different version. It's a complete reboot of that character. But yeah, it made me so happy.
Our theater like lit up. I was cackling, literal cackling, Kyle. And my friend Jack, who went to see this movie with me, she loves the old school Tobey Maguire Spider-Man films. Old school in that they are approximately 19 years old, which is chump change. Have you guys seen that really old movie, Spider-Man?
You're right.
She's just like frozen with joy, and we're just like looking at each other and like laughing and shaking. This is the best timeline for us to live in, Kyle.
The one thing I will say about the original Spider-Man movies with Tobey Maguire, with very few exception, they casted amazingly.
Yes.
Except for, in my opinion, Peter Parker and MJ. I think they were terrible. But Jonah Jameson was fantastic. Sandman was fantastic.
Yeah.
Dr. Octopus was the best.
I'm glad you listed Sandman twice. Sandman, I think, is underloved.
Yeah, he was fantastic.
We could spend an entire 45 minutes talking about my feelings about the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man, and that he's like so endearing and so laughable at the same time.
Yeah, it's I don't know, man.
The Spider-Man, I think, have gotten increasingly more realistic, sincere, believable. They're more believable as they go on.
They're making steps. And they I think they've finally nailed it with these ones. But let's go back to the start of the film, and we'll
put Jonah on a shelf again for right now.
Yeah, we'll save some more thoughts on that in the second end credit scene for when we actually get there.
Yeah.
So this film opens up with Nick Fury and Maria Hill in Mexico investigating a tornado of some sort that is said to have a face. Face.
I wish we had to see more of the tornado with a face.
Yeah, and it actually does show up pretty much right away. It is this earthy, sandy, tornado-looking thing.
No, but here's the thing. All the elementals in the movie have rough body shapes. The tornado was described not being man-shaped, person-shaped, having a head or limbs, just tornado with face.
Yep. Tornado
and that I love.
with face. So yeah, it shows up, and Mysterio also shows up right then. He makes his entrance right away in the film, and he kind
Mhm.
of saves the day. And Mysterio looks fantastic. I am
Yeah.
he looks amazing in this
Real
film.
dreamboat.
I'm glad they didn't try and do some kind of more grounded
Oh,
take
yeah. No, he
on
looks
it
as
and stuff. Like
goofy
he
as
is, yeah,
possible.
big old fishbowl
Yeah.
helmet and everything. It's great. I
Mhm.
love it. Um, so the one thing I will point out about it here, this is the first Easter egg of all of the stuff, which this
Yes.
kind of occurs throughout the film. A lot of
Mhm.
the license plates are Easter eggs in this film. A lot of them say ASM, and then they have a number there.
Mhm.
And I think the car that Maria Hill and Fury pull up in, the license plate is a reference to the first issue that Sandman made an
Mhm.
appearance, and that's why the tornado with a face is very sandy and
Mhm.
earthy. So he's maybe kind of based off of Sandman.
Mhm.
Um, but then black screen, Marvel logo comes up, and all we hear is, and I will always love
It doesn't
you.
start at the chorus of the song. It starts at the exact beginning with the slow, tremulous, quiet. If I should stay, I'd only be in
And
your
I'm sitting there that
way.
whole time, like, what are they doing? What like, because it's the entire, like, it's a black screen. It goes through all the entire Marvel MCU logo with
Yes.
all of the characters doing their poses and stuff. I'm just like, they're gonna do something funny. What are they up to? And then it says in
In
memoriam, or
memoriam in Comic Sans.
in Comic Sans. It kind of starts like the first one started when it was like a Peter
His little home
Parker
video, yeah.
production, yeah. And it turns out to be the high school morning announcements.
It's like in
And
memoriam of the fallen Avengers, and it's just clip art and like Getty images
yeah,
and really bad movie maker transitions.
they still have all the watermarks. They're all
Yes.
pixelated and stuff. It's great. It's
Seeing a
oh my
pixelated
gosh.
image on a we saw this on the giant mega screen that's like I think 4.5 elephants high, I believe is how they describe the screen to us
I
there
don't
in
know
the
how
theater.
high those elephants can
Oh, I
get.
don't know, but it's a giant dang screen. You can see it. It's a big bump out of one end of the building. It can't even fit into the normal
Oh
rectangle.
man,
A screen that big, and I'm looking at like a
the
pixelated
pixelated image of Tony Stark and the Vision.
image.
So yeah, it's the morning announcements at the high school. They are calling Thanos' snap the blip, which is the dumbest name,
I
but it fits so
I
well.
kinda like it because there were only so many people around to actually witness the snap. It would take a decent amount of time for the words of
They yeah
"the snap" to
they
reach
would
out to
know.
people. So the
People
rest of the world, besides that little pocket of
blipped out
people in
of
Wakanda, they just had
existence.
to make up their own name. They're not gonna call it the snap automatically. They don't know.
Melissa, here's my theory. Okay, you're
Okay.
gonna love this because we both love Lost.
Yes.
They all live in a world where they've seen Lost, and it's in reference to that one scene when they finally get off the island and it bloop, it bloops out of existence, and that's exactly how Hurley he just goes bloop. He has no
Yep,
idea,
it's exactly like that. All the
and so
people,
it's
they're
just
on the
blip
island.
blip, they blipped out of existence. But this whole thing is really funny. And then we get to see a little bit more about what happened when people came back.
Yeah.
When they snapped them back into existence, and it all looks like they came back in the exact same spots that they were blipped out of. Which is a little strange, but also makes sense. And I don't understand the logistics of that, because what if you were driving, or what if you were in an airplane? Would you be on the ground because the airplane crashed, or would you be up in the air without the airplane there, just falling in the sky?
It's like you're a Wile E. Coyote running off the edge of the cliff?
Yeah, or would you just be blipped back into the middle of a highway?
So Peter, he blipped back to space, but then thankfully Doctor Strange was there and he's like, oh, okay, well, don't worry, Peter, I'll get us back to Earth.
Well, yeah, there's certain characters like that. It's like, okay, we need to summon every hero back to Earth, so they did that stuff. But yeah, just regular Joe Schmo in the air falling.
All unimportant characters.
Yeah. The one thing, or I guess that's a little bit down the road. We'll get to that in a sec. But so then we see Peter in school. They're about to go on a science field trip to Italy, specifically to see the Da Vinci Museum, among other things, which we find out when we get there. It's actually closed for the summer, and they didn't know. Meanwhile, while all of this is happening, Aunt May is hosting this soup kitchen kind of thing to help the homeless.
Yeah, seemingly people that are homeless because they were displaced after the blip, because she says she blipped back right to her apartment.
Exactly.
And new people had moved in, and the grandma thought I was a ghost. The mom thought I was a mistress.
Which I guess I was laughing at something else or looking for other things. I completely missed that. I had no idea that Aunt May blipped out of existence. But I guess that would make sense.
I was shocked, because I have a real soft spot for May, being an aunt also myself. She's the #1 aunt hero in media.
Speaking of soft spots for Aunt May, Happy Hogan also has a soft spot for Aunt May. Peter thinks it's weird and awkward. So meanwhile, Nick Fury is also trying to contact Peter, presumably about something to do with these elemental things showing up, though they don't know what to call them.
Going back just a sec. So the soup kitchen is being held in some big, or whatever this benefit is for whatever the homeless fund is. This big benefit dinner is being held in a massive gymnasium, auditorium sort of thing somewhere. And they're back in the kitchen, and you can see there's a poster for some old fight that was in this gymnasium.
Yes.
And the name on the poster is Crusher Hogan, who is the wrestler Peter originally won against in the comics to get that $100 in his fighting debut. But in tiny letters beneath that name, you can just barely make out
Bonesaw McGraw. Bonesaw is ready. Which is so you bring that up. They invented Bonesaw McGraw for the original Spider-Man movies with Tobey Maguire, because they thought the Hogan dude, people would confuse him with Hulk Hogan.
I thought it was supposed to be, oh yeah, this is Happy's dad or somebody. When I see that crush,
they're unrelated.
That's weird to put that reference.
And it's
with Happy Hogan then, because I was very confused until I watched an Easter egg video saying actually it's a different guy.
Yeah, they didn't want people to confuse Hulk Hogan with Crusher Hogan, and now we have Happy Hogan here, so it's all the Hogans.
Too many Hogans, too many heroes.
Exactly. So let's see. That is happening. Nick Fury is trying to get in contact with Peter, but Peter is having none of it. He just wants to tell MJ how he feels. He's like, I just want to go on this field trip and let MJ know that I have a crush on her. Speaking of Crusher Hogan, Peter has a crush on MJ. So he has a whole plan to do that, and on the flight to their field trip, Peter wants to manipulate things so he can sit next to MJ, and things go horribly wrong.
Yes.
All because of a big misunderstanding.
The teacher makes him sit next to him because Ned's like, Peter has an allergy to this old lady who's sitting in front of us wearing all this perfume.
Yeah.
Can he come sit next to you? And then the teacher's like, hold on. That's very serious. We have to get him as far away from the lady with perfume as possible.
Moves everyone over. He does. He does the most. It's the worst thing.
I love the teacher. Was it Mr. Harrison?
I don't remember his name.
Harrington?
Let me look at.
And I forget the other teacher's name, but the teachers are the real treat of this film.
Yeah, it's Mr. Harrington and Mr. Dell.
Okay.
As JB Smoove
and
Martin Starr. I want to say this.
Yes.
Martin Starr, fantastic. I liked the jokes that JB Smoove made, but why JB Smoove?
Why not?
Did Hannibal Buress not want to be in this film? Like why didn't
Hannibal Buress was the gym teacher.
Sure, but like
it seems really unlikely that the gym teacher would be like the Let's Go to the Da Vinci Code, not the Da Vinci Code Museum, just Da Vinci the Man.
I guess
Da Vinci Museum in Italy. That'd be like a science teacher, a history teacher, somebody like that. There's no reason why Coach is going with you.
You're right, but still, it's just like
he was missed.
To me, yeah, it seemed like he got replaced, which I was like, I don't really like that.
I think there just wasn't he was the gym teacher. Where would you put the gym teacher in this?
He can be a good chaperone. He ain't doing anything else.
To care about children.
Sure.
I wouldn't trust him.
I guess I don't know who was the chaperones on the first film when they went to I don't remember that.
He wasn't there.
No, he wasn't there.
He's not into it. That ain't his scene. Speaking of people who we previously have not seen in things. So when Peter's on the plane, he's like flipping through the in-flight movies and he's looking through a section of documentaries that are all about in MCU stuff, like, a memorial of Tony Stark's life and a documentary about Wakanda. And there's a PBS Nova documentary hosted by Dr. Eric Selvig.
Is it hosted by him or about him?
It seemed like it was like he was the one presenting, he's presenting the Einstein-Rosen Bridge.
Gotcha.
And he's somebody we haven't seen in a couple movies. It was nice. He didn't make it in. He was one of the few characters that didn't make it into Endgame in any way. So I like that he had a little appearance here. Yep. He's still out there somewhere.
Some people thought that was a hint at the Nova Corps. They're like, how is Eric Selvig connected with the Nova Corps? And it's just like, no, you dummy.
It's another Crusher Hogan thing. We used one name to mean too many things.
Exactly. So I also, about the teachers, I think the funniest joke in all of the MCU happens on the plane with Martin Starr's character, where he starts talking about his ex-wife and how she faked her death using the blip. She faked her blip. And it's the most sad, most just like
sad.
You hear it and you're just like, oh no,
I love
that's what she did, and it was the funniest thing in the world.
This is skipping ahead a bit, but I think the funniest part of this movie to me is when Peter accidentally punches Flash. There's just something about the physical blocking of that scene. It's so goofy. I really love it.
Yeah, it is good. So also on the plane, we see Ned and Betty strike up a relationship on the
I love that because he's like, Peter, forget about MJ. We're going to be bachelors in Europe.
Because all Europeans love Americans. And it's like, really? I don't think so.
Nerd teenage boys. Todd Commodity there in Europe.
Which, if you are familiar with the comics, Ned and Betty end up getting married. Well, kind of. That doesn't really last all that long,
does this also get annulled by Mephisto?
Ned dies. Yeah. Uh,
Was
but
Mephisto involved?
it's one of those weird things where his name is Ned Leeds, but he looks like Gank from the Ultimate Spider-Man comics. He's this like bigger Asian kid. He's Miles Morales' like best friend and roommate, and that was one of the big like that's not Ned Leeds. But yeah, so they struck up a relationship on the plane, which is also one of the best things about the film.
It's so fun.
It was really funny, just out of the blue. Just like, why is this even happening? And it's just completely over the top.
I boarded the plane a boy and I left it a man. That now I am in love.
Yeah,
we're gonna buy matching hats.
Yeah. Which is exactly like how the high school like stuff, you know, like you go on some field trip, and by the end of it, you're now dating someone.
I feel like the times in your life when you get to have matching things with a partner is like under 20 or like above 50. And I missed it earlier, and I'm real sad I have to wait until I'm like in my 50s for me and my husband to have like matching sweaters or something like that. I can't do it now. Now it's weird.
I mean, you could always just start a trend. The hipsters love all that stuff nowadays.
Matching sweater sets.
So they get to Italy, and while they are there, the next elemental attacks, which is kind of based off of Hydro Man.
Yes.
Not Wet Guy. Hydro Man. Correction. And it's also one of the things where I think there's a boat behind Ned at one point that has the ASM number something, you know. And Mysterio also shows up. He starts fighting Hydro Man. Peter is like, hey, I can help. You should let me help. And Peter doesn't really help much. He like swings around and does some things, and he stops a tower.
It's hard to know how to fight water.
Yeah, he notices that his webs just go right through it, which kind of makes sense. It's just this big water monster.
It's Wet Guy.
Yeah. But he at the end of the day, he doesn't really end up doing much besides just like getting his head hit
just
multiple times by a big, no pun intended, or I guess pun intended, he gets his bell rung multiple times. But yeah, so he wants to help, but he also goes to get a pendant of a black dahlia for MJ because she likes the murders.
You know, like the murder.
Yeah.
Which is believable. True. There are murder girls out there. This is the movie for murder girls.
And for this version of MJ, absolutely.
Yes. I love this MJ.
Absolutely. So that's kind of the first couple things that happens in Italy. Once things are kind of cleared up, they go back to the hotel they're staying at, which I believe was called Hotel Di Mattias, which is named after a comic book creator. But this is where Nick Fury finally shows up, because Peter's been ignoring his calls. Nick tranquilizes Ned Leeds, who falls asleep on the couch, and he explains, he's like, hey, I need your help to beat these elementals. You should come work with me, and we can get all this stuff done. And so he's like, I don't really have a choice, do I? And so he goes with Nick Fury to get briefed. That's where he finally sees Mysterio for the second time. I guess I shouldn't say finally saw Mysterio. That's a weird.
Yeah, this
way
is
to
the first time he's
that.
Well, he sees him with the helmet off, knowing, you are a true, real, handsome man.
You're a handsome man. Okay, you're a hero. Does your name happen to be Chris?
One of the few non-Chris specimens in the franchise.
Right. So he learns that Mysterio's real name is Quentin Beck. He doesn't really have a name yet, but all of his high school friends have been calling him Mysterio. So he's like, "Oh, hey, Mysterio's here." And he's like, "Mysterio? Okay. I kind of like that." But now seeing that there are multiple agents there with Nick and that Mysterio is there, Peter's kind of like, you know what? I'm just here on vacation. Like, I don't really want to save the
I
world
just
right
saved
now.
the world a little while ago, and now I just want to be a teen.
I just died and came back
to
to life, and I just want to tell MJ.
Yeah, remember how I was kind of like holding Tony Stark when he died? I need a break now. No, thank you.
Yeah, so he's not feeling up to it.
Mm-hmm.
There is a great scene though, because when he sees Mysterio mentions, "Hey, I'm from another universe. I'm from Earth, but not this Earth. I'm from another universe."
Yeah.
And Peter just instantly lights up, and he just goes, "Oh, multiverse! That means this and all of this, that," and everyone is just like, "What the hell are you talking about?" And he's like, "Oh, sorry, I'm a bit of a science nerd." And
He is. Yes.
Mysterio, without missing a beat, goes, "Hey, never apologize for being the smartest one in the room." And you can just tell that means a lot to Peter.
Yeah, I like the moments whenever we get to see that Peter is a nerd. Like
Yeah,
he's a real science guy.
yeah. He's obviously a very popular superhero, if not one of the most. He's the highest selling for the Marvel comics, but he's up there with like Superman and Batman and stuff like that. But so I wouldn't say he's underrated, but at the same time, I think a lot of people forget just how smart he is, or just how strong he often is.
Yeah, because he's not you think about the spider bite. You don't think about how much of his costume he built himself.
Yeah.
And like remembering
Well, not in the MCU, but
in other variations. And he helps. He builds it in this one at the end.
Yeah. He
Now
makes his
that
own
there ain't a
webbing.
Tony, he's got to be the Tony. But like remembering back to the original Tobey Maguire Spider-Man series, like one of the big tensions in that series is you're a really good student. Like if you stick to your studies, you could graduate college with this amazing science degree.
Yeah.
And he just
Absolutely.
cannot get to class. He cannot study. And the fact that he's throwing away this really legitimate successful, he's very well built for it. He could have an amazing normal human career in science, but he can't.
Yeah.
And
exactly.
I like that's less of a tension here, the career tension in the Tom Holland Spider-Man, mostly because he's a kiddo. But I like those moments where you still get to see, has a real passion for science.
Yeah.
Beyond just like it's plot convenient if he's very smart.
Yeah. I mean, he's still in high school in these films, and he was in high school when he first became Spider-Man in the comics and stuff like that. But later on in the comics, when he's older, he's not as smart as Tony Stark or Mr. Fantastic and all of that stuff, but he can keep up with them. Like he's not lost in like I don't know understand all this science stuff. He can hold intelligent conversations with them, and I think a lot of times people forget that. But that being said, multiverse stuff. We saw this mentioned in the trailers and stuff, but specifically Mysterio mentions that this is Earth 616, and he is actually from Earth 833. Which this is going to be the first time that I talk about Mysterio as the film's villain. So the first film played with expectations so well and had such an amazing twist. And then when we found out that Mysterio was going to be the bad guy, I was super excited because I was like, oh, they are going to continue with this trend of there being an extremely big twist. Like, I expect that from Mysterio because that is his character. He is all about visual effects and special, like, that's what he's a failed movie special effects artist and stuff like that. And so they are going they are leaning into it, like, hey, we are gonna be the MCU films with the twist, which they didn't need to do. I at first wasn't expecting them to do all of that stuff, but this is, I think, not everyone is familiar with Mysterio. Not everyone knows what his shtick is.
Yeah.
So I think him ending up being the bad guy could have been enough of a twist for a lot of people. However, for someone like me, that's not a twist.
It's a little underwhelming.
Yeah. And so... Oh, go ahead.
I know, just saying, I knew who Mysterio was going into this, and I'm not a very well-versed comics person. I think out of the small handful of comics I've read, I just happened to read one that had Mysterio in it.
He's a fun one to read.
I liked him a lot. And so, but I feel like he's just at that level where if you've heard the name Mysterio, you know he is a special effects artist.
Yeah.
Like, he's not like, I'm sure there's people out there who've seen Venom. They're like, Venom's cool. Who's Eddie Brock? I don't know.
Somehow it's just like Venom equals illusions somehow,
Yeah, but I mean, I think he's one of those villains that, like, if you know him, you know who he is and what he does. He's not just like a cool image or a cool name.
Right.
And so I imagine there'd be a decent audience going into this movie saying, oh, that's the trick. Like, all this is fake because he's a special effects artist, right? So I didn't know what was going to happen. Like, is that it? Are they going to stay to the comics, or are they thinking we think that
that's what I was thinking.
For it? I'm like, is staying true to it what they're going to do, or is that too easy? So they're going to play on our expectations and have a completely different kind of Mysterio.
Yeah, because I've seen that too. There was a character in the Arrow series, and they introduced him. They said his name, and I said, "Oh, I know exactly who this character is, and it's going to be." And it turned out it was someone else, and I was like, "I didn't because I had these expectations. I didn't see this coming." And so yeah, the twists and stuff from Mysterio were a little bit underwhelming, but this is the first time that we saw Mysterio lie. If you didn't know, Earth 616 is the main story where all the comics take place. This is not where the MCU takes place. The MCU actually is Earth 1999.
I didn't know that. I was only familiar with 616 as the designation for most main Marvel that we knew, and I figured that MCU was a different continuity, but I didn't know what the number was.
Yeah, each alternate universe gets its own Earth designation.
Is the one he's from a real Earth?
Earth 833 is Marvel UK.
It's like with Captain Britain?
Yeah, it's so the Spider-Man character in that one is a mix between Spider-Man and Captain Britain.
Okay.
And they're also in Europe. So, Marvel UK. Hey.
Yeah.
There you go. But yeah, so that's also one of the tells of like, oh, he's lying. He's not telling the truth there. But then there's another character that is introduced here. I don't know if you read this in your Easter egg stuff. Dimitri. Did you hear anything about Dimitri?
No, I didn't. I watched a ton of Easter egg videos. None of them got to Dimitri.
I didn't think anything about this until I saw another podcast who did their review of Spider-Man: Far From Home. Let's see, Spider-Man. Bam, there we go. So there is a character in Marvel Comics, Dmitry Smerdyakov, I believe is his name. He is the very first villain that Spider-Man ever fought in a comic book, in Amazing Spider-Man #1, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, Amazing Spider-Man #1. He's not. I wouldn't really call him a super villain because he doesn't have superpowers,
Mhm.
but he goes by the Chameleon, and he's a master of disguise and stuff like that. So he can disguise himself as anyone he wants to. Um,
Then he didn't.
Later on in the comics, he also turns more into like a Clayface style character. Not that he is made of mud and stuff like that, but Clayface from like the Batman
Yeah.
universe and
I
stuff.
know he's from
His whole
Batman. I
shtick,
just
yeah.
couldn't conjure off the top of my head exactly what he does.
So the Chameleon is also the half brother of Kraven the Hunter.
Oh. Okay, now we're getting more into stuff I know.
Yeah. And they only introduced him as Dimitri and didn't say anything else about him. But yeah, he like it's one of those things. Dimitri is good at being a double agent. He like that's his whole shtick, right? So yeah, they were wondering if like, hey, maybe they're like sneaking him in because they've been setting up the Sinister Six, kind of, right? We've seen Scorpion, we've seen Vulture, we've seen Mysterio. If this is in fact the Chameleon, that could be one of them. So yeah, and it would make sense that he would want to infiltrate like spy organizations and stuff like the ones Nick Fury runs.
I'd like to take a minute and just pour one out for Paul Giamatti's Rhino, and how we never got to see more of that.
He was actually not bad as Rhino.
Please, like just how you pulled J.K. Simmons. Please just pluck up Paul Giamatti from wherever he is, from another continuity. Drop him into this.
Yeah.
I was so disappointed. I wanted an entire Paul Giamatti Rhino movie.
Yeah. Yeah, but with Peter unmasking in front of him, Dimitri would now know his alter ego, and if he is the half brother of Kraven, and this whole thing of at the end of the film, as we almost mentioned, we haven't gotten there yet, but Mysterio outs Peter Parker as this, like, that might be enough to get Kraven's attention to be like, I want to hunt that guy.
The most dangerous game.
There you go. So let's move on a little bit here. Whoops, I have something playing on my end. Let's see. So moving on, Nick Fury gives Peter Parker a parting gift from Tony Stark, and these are the Edith glasses.
Yeah, it's the aviator sunglasses like you'd always see Tony wearing. And Peter it comes with a little card in the box that says to Peter, to the next Iron Man, I trust you, from TS. And he puts on the glasses, and the glasses say, hello, I am Edith. And it is an acronym, and it stands for, even dead, I'm the hero.
Yep. Which is fantastic. But I guess we should also mention that Peter says he wouldn't help out Nick Fury because he needs to go to a different location, and he's like, well, I just can't leave my field
the field trip is going to Paris. No, I can't go to Prague and help you.
Exactly. So we learn that Nick Fury manipulates the field trip to have them go to Prague.
Like, send them to Prague. Get them
instead,
a big bus, make it look like a fancy upgrade. They can't resist the call of Prague.
So they are on their way to Prague when Peter puts on the glasses and he starts figuring out what these glasses are. They are at a rest stop, and Peter is told to go to a specific location in this house thing. So he goes there, and there is presumably some kind of agent that Nick Fury sent to be like, hey, here's a new suit. here's a new stealth suit
Yeah,
for
because
you.
Peter was telling him, like, look, I couldn't even. If I am Spider-Man here in Europe,
They'll put
everybody
it
is going to
together.
put it together. Oh,
Exactly.
Spider-Man's not New York, he's in Europe. This school's field trip is on Europe. He's like, somebody would figure it out. Like, it's too obvious. I can't be Spider-Man here.
Mm-hmm. So they give him this stealth suit. He's about to put it on. He is undressing when Brad walks in and snaps a picture because he's also competing for the affections of MJ. And he's like, I'm going to show this to her because if I do,
Brad.
she's going to like you less. And she's going to like me. Maybe just the same, hopefully. Which is the dumbest plan in the world, but it's an awkward situation. And back on the bus, Peter has the Edith glasses on, and he accidentally sends a drone strike to kill Brad. Cut to space, and there's this drone that pops out and heads to Earth, and it's so funny.
He's asking all these questions about Brad, like, Edith, can you look at what Brad is texting right now? And Edith says, is Brad a target? And he's like, yeah, yes. Brad's a target.
He's not sure what that means.
Activate kill mode.
Yeah. Which I felt like that would have been a great line to put just as the first thing when she's like, would you like to see what features I have? I would have thought the first thing he said would be like, all right, deactivate instant kill mode. So Peter ends up saving the day, but they did they have to stop somewhere else? I don't remember. I
don't know. I think maybe after this they do get to Prague because he shoots webs out the window and is able to catch the drone and stop it.
He jumps out of the thing, and saves the day. No,
real quick. Back when they were in Venice and water is attacking the city, big wet guy is attacking the city, and the kids are all running around panicking. Mr. Dell is like, you know what I bet this is? Witches.
Yes.
And then later in the scene on the bus when Edith is looking around and there's like a little window popping up from everybody's phones showing like what they're texting, what they're searching, what they're up to. Like Mr. Dell's is a Google search for history of witchcraft.
And meanwhile, Ned and Betty are like, I miss you. Oh, I miss you more. And they're sitting right next to each other. I should also say, fun fact, Betty Brant, if I'm not mistaken, is one of the first girlfriends that Peter has in high school. I'm not sure if it's him or Liz, if it's her or Liz Allen that comes first. But she's one of the first ones. Yeah. And she is also in the original Spider-Man film, she is J. Jonah Jameson's like receptionist in the film. That's Betty Brant.
That's where I know that name from. Yes.
Betty Brant. Mm-hmm. So that's all happening. Peter saves the day, and then they get to Prague. While they are there, Mysterio gives Peter a late-night pep talk, inspiring him to help out with defeating the elementals. And it's just another touching moment between the two to kind of have...
I miss Iron Man, and he's like, you could be the next Iron Man to help protect the world.
Yeah. So meanwhile, the class has gotten tickets to go see the opera thanks to Nick Fury because they needed to be out of the way for a couple
because like a fire elemental is going to come attack
Molten
Prague,
Man.
And the kids are like, oh boy, I'm excited for the town carnival. And then
Exactly.
Mr. Harrington's like, oh boy, kids, opera.
And they're like, oh, snooze fest. So they get tickets to the opera thanks to Nick Fury, but no one wants to go because there is a giant carnival outside, and the kids all want to go to that because there's lights and fireworks and rides and candy and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
So they want to go do that, but they get to the opera and Peter Parker sneaks away just after making a quick connection with MJ.
Yeah.
He's been wanting to tell her how he feels, and it's not really happening. And this is like one of the first moments where he can actually like, hey, I actually want to talk to you and hang out with you.
Yeah, and they're like,
the
oh, we can
trip.
share a pair of opera glasses.
Yeah, but he has to sneak away because Nick Fury's like, hey, are you in position yet?
Leave room for the Lord, Peter.
Yeah. So he sneaks off, and then when he sneaks off, MJ wants to go sneak off, and then surprisingly enough, Betty, who seems to be the like goody two shoes, I'm not gonna get in trouble, is like, are they sneaking off to go to the party? We should sneak off too. And so Betty and Ned sneak off to go to the party as well. Then Spidey and Mysterio battle it out with the fire elemental, which is said to be the most strongest one according to Mysterio.
If he gets metal in him, he just absorbs the metal and he gets bigger.
Exactly. If he gets to the Earth's core specifically, then he is unstoppable, is what Mysterio said. This is the one that destroyed his Earth. And it's not like the elementals traveled to a new Earth, but each Earth has their own kind of incarnations of them.
I have to stop you for a second for something really
What is
silly.
so funny?
So Magmar Man, he can't like go
Molten
through
Man.
the Earth. What's it?
Molten Man?
Molten Man.
That's who he's. It's like it's Sandman, Hydra Man, Molten Man.
Yeah, there's
stuff like that. I don't know who the wind one is.
A wind one.
Windy Man.
Yeah. But if he gets through the core of the Earth, he will become unstoppable and then presumably like push through the other side. And there was that joke we had when we were, when everybody was kids, like, oh, if you dig in your backyard, you could dig a hole straight through the center of the Earth and end up in China. And I wanted to make a joke like that, and then I'm like, oh no, they're in Europe. I don't know what's on the opposite end of the Earth from Europe. I just know the opposite end of the Earth from America.
And
I'm like trying to
Alaska.
I guess I'm trying to piece together like a globe in my head, and I'm not doing it.
It'd be in the middle of the ocean.
I guess, but
like
then
that.
The ocean would get him. Let him get through the Earth, and then the ocean will get him.
So, fun fact about Molten Man.
Yes.
Someone who I thought should have also been Peter Parker's classmate. I cannot speak. Liz Allen is another character that's often seen in their like age group. I don't think we've seen her yet in the MCU films. Or
no,
if we
wasn't
have,
that the girl from the first movie? Wasn't the first movie love interest named Liz? I don't remember her last name, but I think her name was Liz.
It was.
Yeah.
I don't know why I completely just didn't think of that. But yeah, that's Liz Allen. So fun fact, Molten Man is Liz Allen's brother in the comics. So if this is in fact Molten Man, he's out in Europe.
Maybe they're like, okay, only once in this series can we pull off science guy loves a lady whose brother is a fireman. And we got to save that for the Fantastic Four, so we can't use it here.
Her
Fire Brothers.
Dad is the Vulture. Her brother is Molten Man. She has a terrible family, man. But yes, I mean, again, this is not actually Molten Man. But Ned and Betty are trapped on the Ferris wheel. Betty thinks she recognizes Spider-Man, but Ned comes in to save the day and be like, no, that's Night Monkey.
That's Night Monkey.
Yeah. So the next day you see on the news, Mysterio and Night Monkey fight, Molten Man.
I love this movie has also invented a new European urban legend.
Kind of. There was a Marvel Apes.
I did see a picture of that in one of these videos, and that's
I think that's weird. A bit of a stretch for an Easter egg for this one. I don't think that's exactly what they were going for.
You already used Andy Serkis.
So MJ is watching the fight. She's hiding behind a building, and as Spider-Man is fighting Molten Man, unbeknownst to him, a piece of Molten Man breaks off, but it's not a molten lava rock.
No.
It is this piece of machinery. Curious. And MJ picks it up, and as it turns out, it is a projector. We don't know that yet. We'll talk about that in a sec here. So after the fight with Molten Man, they do end up saving the day. Peter and Mysterio do what bros do, and they go to a bar. Even
Peter,
though
I
Peter
think,
is
drinks like
16,
orange juice or
he
something.
has
Yeah, he's
lemonade.
a good boy.
Yeah, he's a good boy. And so they go to a bar to chill and talk, and this is where Peter kind of has the revelation. Is that right? Revelation. Look. I cannot word. Okay.
It okay, Kyle.
I can word good. And Peter has the revelation that it's not him that is supposed to be the next Iron Man, because this whole time he thinks he has these ginormous metal shoes to fill.
Yeah.
and he's like, well, I'm gonna have to be the next Iron Man. This is too much for me. I'm just 16 years old. I can't do this.
And he thinks about the little card that Tony left him that says, "To the next Iron Man, I trust you." But he reads it like, "For the next Iron Man, I trust you. Yeah, you pick him."
Yeah. And so he's like, oh, what if that means if it's not supposed to be, but I'm supposed to decide who it is, because he knows that I would be the one to like know who's a good guy. And he's
I'm
like,
not Iron Man. I am the cave that builds a new Iron Man for the world.
Sure. What was the dude's name that helped him in the cave?
I don't know, remember. Like Felix?
Something like that. You guys can mention it in the comments or something on.
It's not going to be Felix.
YouTube,
I don't know. I just said
YouTube.
a man's name.
But
it's another Hogan.
So he so he gives the glasses to Mysterio, and he's like, "Hey, you're a good guy. You're supposed to be the next Iron Man, because your world is destroyed. So where else are you gonna go? You should stay here and be an Avenger."
Yeah. You have no loved ones to hold you back.
Exactly.
You should do it.
And so Peter ends up leaving because he needs to get back to the hotel, because he, again, is 16 years old and he's on a field trip. And this is where the jig is up. This is where it is revealed.
Stop and ask you a question real quick.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so when Peter puts on the glasses analyze him, they analyze his eyes, and they're like, oh, yes, this is Peter Parker. I am destined to be given to Peter Parker. So at this point so far in the movie, I know Mysterio is not what he seems, but I don't know what he is yet. Again, because I don't know if the movie is going to go the route we know from the comics where he is a special effects artist just creating illusions, or if there is something about him that is kind of weird and like multiversal and cosmic, but just not exactly what he's telling us. Like something's up, but I can't tell what yet. And when Peter gives him the glasses and he puts them on real easily, I was were you also thinking for half a second he's Peter from the future and that's why the glasses take to him, because those are still Peter's eyes? Well, that's what we were thinking.
Well, because he can transfer the stuff, which is basically what he did. He was like, hey, I want to transfer this to...
But there wasn't any second of audio of Edith being like, now adjusting to Quentin Beck as new operator. Like,
it just says like accepted or something, right?
Yeah, like the glasses are like, do you confirm you want to be handed over? And Peter's like, confirm. And then he just hands him the glasses and he puts on the glasses. And I'm like, this is too easy. So, Tony Stark would have programmed in a stronger failsafe. That's Peter from the future.
Yeah, you're not wrong though, because at the end of the film when Peter takes them back, he like, if they are under Quentin's like he's the one that's in charge.
Mhm.
Wouldn't he have to be the one to initiate who gets to? But
Unless
like
there's
he
like a
puts him on.
favorite boy protocol in the glasses that says Peter always, trumps anybody else that might
Sure,
be wearing glasses. Peter
something
number 1, best
like that.
boy,
Seems
favorite son.
seems like he would have a little more hail safes in there. You're right, or just protections of who can use these.
Yeah,
Because
like it was
everyone
too
is just using
easy.
them all willy nilly.
And I'm like, this is something. Or even with the bit where Quentin says, I lost my entire family to the elementals, and there's like a dramatic shot of his wedding ring. I'm like, is he married to somebody important? Does this mean something? And it does turn out to just be more set dressing and more illusion. But I'd spend like the first, I don't know, hour of this movie going, what's your deal? Who are you?
Yeah. So besides Peter feeling like he was meant to be the next Tony
Mhm.
Stark, or just the next Iron Man, I thought this about the scene on the bus when he jumps up out of the window to shoot the drone. When he
Mhm.
comes back, when he comes back down, his hair is all wind blown back. And I don't know about you, but I felt he looked a lot more like Tony when
Yeah,
he did that.
that is the look.
And then when he gave the glasses to Mysterio, he looked a lot like Tony in this. So there is this theme of like characters almost looking like Tony. So if I was if I were to have an alternate theory,
Mhm.
if I didn't know what actually
Yeah.
happened, I would have said maybe this is an alternate reality version of Tony Stark.
Yeah,
Who knows?
I kept thinking, no, it might be too easy for him to be a special effects artist. Maybe he is somebody from another universe, but just not exact. He's not telling us the right story. But
Right.
there's something
So
cosmic about this man.
that is not what I was expecting, though,
Hmm.
because I was thinking maybe he is exactly that. That he is a technology special effect. Like he would know how to do all of this stuff, but because of the
Hmm.
snap, because of the blip, like his career went to shit.
Oh,
and
yeah.
and so and he maybe blames all the heroes for doing all of that stuff, and so he
Yeah,
wants to
like
get
the
rid of that. Like, that's
celebrity
not far
vanished.
off,
Like he was gonna make the next Avatar, and then James Cameron disappeared, and he's
right?
like, "Well, now
Because
I don't have a job."
that's also one of the things that the MCU hasn't really addressed, is that they spent 5 years with their like I'm sure their economy took a huge hit worldwide. So like I like whole industries of entertainment, I'm sure, of
Yeah, but or
construction, all of
like,
that. Like I don't feel
what's
like it would be up to par.
or like, Thanos was talking about there aren't enough resources to go around. After 5 years of half the population being missing, is hunger that much less of a problem now? And now that everybody's back, now it has become a problem again. Like, oh,
Yeah,
we
who
didn't
knows?
prepare to have all this extra food and housing and supplies around because half the
Exactly.
population was gone
We
yesterday.
we didn't rebuild all of this stuff yet.
Whoops, we didn't grow enough corn.
So I was expecting something like that. But
Mhm.
then yeah, like you see him sitting there and you're like, all right, something's up. Here it is. And in my mind I was like, this is it. And yeah, you start to see the like nano machine
Mhm.
things, whatever they were. Most of that bar was a projection.
That was such
That
a
was
cool reveal.
awesome. That was a
Like it
great reveal. Yeah.
Yeah, like even if the plot stuff around Mysterio isn't super surprising, the visuals are always a great punch for
Yeah.
everything that's going on.
But I guess what they ended up doing with this worked out really well. This was all
Yeah.
basically Tony's fault. As it's these are all the like number
Mhm.
2 and number 3 characters throughout the
Mhm.
MCU, of just like they were working on that. Like here's Obadiah Stane from Iron Man 1 yelling at this dude, and it's the
Tony could
same dude
build
who's
this in
there
a
in the bar.
cave with a box of scraps. The
Yeah,
man he is yelling at,
is
that
on the
man is
team.
here.
Yeah, just like all of these like people who got brushed
Yeah.
aside. The guy who made the
That's
illusion tech is Quentin Beck, and
yeah,
Tony
like
Stark got to
in
put
Civil
his name
War
on it
when you see like, 22-year-old Tony in his last moments with his parents before they leave to get into that car
to
accident that
get
was
murdered
ultimately
by
Bucky's fault.
Winter Soldier.
Whoops.
Yeah,
That entire thing, Quentin built that, and he's like, "You used
you
this for
named
like
it Barf.
you used it for a personal therapy session and then didn't really do anything else with it,
Yeah,
Tony?
which
Really?"
like that that's also very believable because that kind of stuff happens where some guy who is at the head of some company
Yeah.
ultimately gets to put his name on stuff at the end of
Mhm.
the day, right? And then yeah, if he squanders it or doesn't use it or uses it for the wrong things, then it's like, well, there's gonna be people angry there,
Yeah,
you know?
I did like this part of the twist a lot. And I wasn't
That
like
was
disappointed.
fantastic. Yeah.
I wasn't like disappointed by Quentin turning out to be a special effects artist. I think I was hoping to be surprised more, but like I just knew the thing going into it. Like
Yep.
they didn't do anything wrong. I was just too prepared.
Yeah. It
I think it's like you could show this movie to my parents who have like never heard of Mysterio and they'd be like, "Wow, what a cool
yeah.
twist."
Exactly.
It absolutely works, and the part of it where it's like we're all the people who have been wronged by Stark Industries. We
Exactly.
are going to ruin Tony Stark's legacy. That I thought was really cool, and that's why I think this is such a great end to phase 3 and not beginning of phase 4. Because I feel like from,
Okay.
phase 4
That
on,
makes
they're going to
sense. Yeah, because
start.
it's all about Tony Stark. He was the one
Yeah.
that started it all, and
Yeah.
here's
And
all
like
the ones
Tony's
that
legacy is
he
always
hurt.
going to be there, but those ripple effects will dissipate as the series goes on. I feel like for this is a really cool plot device, and I'm really glad they
Yeah,
used it. This was probably the last time they could have used it. I don't think this would work as well if it came
down the road.
you know,
No.
just next year even. This was
Yeah.
the time, and I'm really glad they did it.
So the reason why I also felt like this could have been the start to Phase 4
Mhm.
is because I felt like even though this is the second Spider-Man film, this is almost the Iron Man 1 but for Spider-Man, which we'll get
Yeah.
into that in a sec, but at the end of the
Yes.
day, it is about Peter basically becoming confident as Spider-Man.
Mhm.
He always thought, yeah, he has to be the next Tony Stark. He has to be the next Iron Man. And at the end of the day, it's no, you need to be Peter Parker. You need to be
Mhm.
Spider-Man. So that's why I felt like it's one and the same. Is like,
Yeah.
here's the end of this guy's legacy, and you need to be the one to escape that. So good stuff though.
Yeah.
Um, so we catch back up with
Oh,
Peter
I'm
Parker. Oh,
not to keep
go for it.
extending this thing, but one more note. I want to see if you also thought of this. So, he's wearing his Mysterio costume, and then when like he calls it off, and then like all the holograms fall away and it's just him, and like every person that was in the bar turns out to be a plant. It's an actor, it's a friend of his.
Hmm.
And he's got his friends like, take okay, we're gonna take off the helmet, we're gonna take off the cape. And he's down to wearing just what the very basic element of his costume is, which is this sort of greenish jumpsuit kind of.
Hmm.
And then he's yelling
Mocap suit.
about how his billionaire playboy boss didn't trust all of his genius findings, and now he's going to run around in this green jumpsuit and show that billionaire playboy boss was real Riddler vibes.
I don't think I
You
got
didn't
Riddler
you didn't think
vibes.
about the Riddler? Was it
No.
only me? I just see like yelling about a boss and my work was disrespected and I'm wearing green and I'm like, that's him. That's Eddie boy.
No, because
Like, it's not supposed to be a reference or a call or anything
I
to it. I just
get
saw that and I'm
right.
like, I have seen this before in my head. Yes, yes. Remember, Batman and Batman Forever. It's that one.
Yeah. I mean, you're not necessarily wrong, but yeah, it's not something that came to mind when it happened.
Meh. I'll find
Who
somebody
knows?
else in the world who made this connection and we'll settle
I
down and
will.
build a life
I will
together.
keep looking. So Peter gets back to his hotel, and the field trip is being cut short because of those goddamn witches that keep popping up, and they're all in danger and stuff like that. So of course the field trip would get cut short, but Peter still hasn't really enacted out his plan yet. He wants to go tell MJ how he feels still. So the two of them end up sneaking out.
I loved this. I thought that was really sweet and really fun, and it just captured that like first couple dates energy where it's like, "Why? What do you want to do? I don't care what we do.
Like,
Let's just
what do you want to
walk
do?
outside now, and we're together, and we like each other, and we don't care what we're doing. We will still like it because no matter what, we're doing it together." Like it's very small and simple, but that's the point.
And it's that like, I've known you've liked me for a long time, so yes, like finally you ask me.
The budding romantic chemistry in this movie is really well done.
Yeah. So while they're out there, they're walking on the bridge, and Peter is about to tell MJ how he feels, but MJ goes, "You're Spider-Man."
Yeah, he's like, "I have something I have to tell you," and she's like, "Oh, that you're Spider-Man, right?"
And he is caught off guard. What? No, I'm not Spider-Man. No. He denies it. They keep talking for a little bit, and she's like, "Well, how come Night Monkey, who was also here, also has Spider-Man's webs? That's weird. Do they use the same webbing?" And she pulls out that projector thing, and while they're talking, it turns on, and they see a projection of like I think it was the Molten Man dude, and they're scared at first, but almost immediately they put it together. Oh, something is really wrong here.
He's been lying to us. He's been orchestrating all of this.
Mysterio's been lying. And which is then when Peter's like, "All right, you know what? You were actually right. I am Spider-Man. I need to go. I need to warn Nick Fury." So Peter takes it, and he runs off to go warn Nick Fury. Meanwhile, Mysterio is working on his next plan of attack. I think it's supposed to be the last elemental. He's working on the choreography.
Combined.
It's what?
It's all of them combined. Isn't there a joke at the end where like the teachers are looking at the big monster that's everything combined? And like Mr. It's like, "Oh, it's like," I forget what he says, but it's not quite right. He's like, "It's like, oh, all the Transformers came together." And then Mr. Harrington's
Voltron.
Like, "Voltron. You mean Voltron?"
They do make that joke. But so Mysterio is working on the choreography for the next plan of attack.
Choreography, yes.
Yeah, I mean that's basically what it is.
No, you're right. That's what he's doing. He's like, "Okay, run the special effects reel again. I have to make sure I hit my marks.
Double the damage. Do this. Do that.
Right. Yeah.
So, yeah. Which is neat, and he's there in the mocap suit with the.
I also like that it's like the guy at the computer, and he's there acting all this out, and then everybody else is just hanging out at the sidelines, like drinking wine.
Right? Yeah. Exactly.
It's just a party for everybody else who does not actively have a job to do.
Yeah. Exactly.
That's the kind of supervillain posse I want to be in. There's champagne all the time.
Mm-hmm. So Peter goes to warn Nick Fury, who picks him up, and they go on their way to the UN Council thing, because I guess we forgot to mention that Nick Fury is like, "Hey, Mysterio, you should come to the UN," not the UN Council.
Oh, but it's like not Interpol, it's like Europol.
Yeah, something like that, to be like, "Hey, we want to basically instate you as an Avenger, as a hero that we
Peter's
can
like,
use
"Hey,"
to do all that stuff." Yeah.
Yeah, and Peter's like, "Hey, thanks, but no thanks. I'm gonna be a teen. I think he's really the next Iron Man you're looking for." And Fury's like,
"Yeah.
Okay."
So at the last minute, this is when Peter's like, "Hey Nick, I have something to tell you," and they go to the not Interpol.
Europol.
Yeah, no, I'm not a pole. You're a pole. And they get there, and it turns out to be an illusion because Mysterio has figured out that Spider-Man knows. They realize that the illusion is
One
not
of the
acting right.
projector droids is not droids. One of the drones is missing.
Exactly.
And the computer guy is also the kid from A Christmas Story. We have not discussed this.
Oh yeah, no, that is the guy from Iron Man 1. Yeah, that's him.
Just another detail for the listener if you didn't watch all these Easter egg videos. This isn't an Easter egg, it's just look at this man's career. Yeah, that's the little boy.
You'll shoot your eye out, kid.
Well, he's still got them both, so
yeah.
Joke's
or
on us.
Is it an illusion?
Should have trusted. it's a projected eye.
Exactly.
A drone following him around at all times to projection map an eye onto his face.
So yeah, they're like, hey, one of the cameras is missing, and Mysterio's like, we can't fuck this up. Like, that is the kind of thing that will mess this entire thing up. You need to get it back. And so they, where is my iPhone to this camera thing? And they find out that Peter Parker has it. MJ is right there. They all know. And this UN Europol is all a ruse, and it's in classic Mysterio fashion. This scene is amazing.
Oh, and then like Peter shows up, and like Mysterio is throwing just trick after trick, just all illusion stat. You don't have time for my illusions.
It's just, I don't know what's real. Things are, it looks like the Doctor Strange type of illusions and stuff happening, and it is fantastic. This is classic Mysterio. This is like, despite me being kind of underwhelmed that they didn't do anything more with the twist that Mysterio was the bad guy, they nailed it. This is so exactly who Mysterio is.
I am satisfied with the movie as it is. I understand that it is there to play for a very wide range of people from 8 to 80. Family, fun, friendly, feature film for all ages, for the whole family. Sure. But like, I went in going, weird, gimme weird. And I wish it was weirder.
I wish it was too, but
like I was telling my friend, like
a one or two more of those types of scenes, right?
Yes, more like the visual trickery, because there's a lot of Peter, being introspective, thinking like, okay, who do I trust? Like, what's real? What's a lie? But I wanted more of this visual trickery and like more illusion, not in addition to the lying. There's lots of lying, more illusion, more stuff like that.
Yeah.
I was trying to describe this to my friend that I wanted it to be weirder. And I said, I'd pay my $14 or however much it is. I drive out to the theater. I sit down in the theater. I want it. And Kyle, you know me. I'm a clean living woman. So I must mean this. Just fuck me up, movies. Like.
Stop the presses. Melissa just cursed for like the first time on one of in over 100 episodes. Melissa has.
This is what I bring it out for. You tell me the clean variant of that sentence that gives you as much emotion. No, I want them do a whole number on me. Movies.
You're totally right, though.
I want weird. Please, mind fucks are all I want. There's not a better term for that. That's what it is.
That I think would have been a suitable quote unquote twist if they continued this. Like, I don't know what's real, what's not, and the whole movie we don't know. Like we did in episode of the review show on Satoshi Kon's Perfect Blue.
Yes.
And Satoshi Kon is a master of that. Like, just this is all just a mind fuck. I have no idea what's real, what's happening. Like, I wanted just a little bit more of that.
Yes.
You don't need to go that level of things, but if you amped it up just a bit, I think that would have been more than I was expecting from Mysterio, and I would have been like, sold, 100% sold. This was
Yeah.
amazing.
Yes, yes, that was all I wanted, and I was trying to describe it to another friend, like, I wasn't expecting, like, Inception or something,
Mm-hmm.
but, like, 10, 12% more? 12% more weirdness, please, like,
Yeah,
really screw up my
yeah.
mind for 2
Two
hours.
more minutes of
Yes!
Helms. Um, so yeah, I thought that scene was perfect. There is a image of Spider-Man, or not Spider-Man, Iron Man, who is a zombie,
Mhm.
and that design is based off of the Marvel Zombies
Oh.
comics. Which, fun fact, I think the first run of that was written by Robert Kirkman, who does The Walking
Oh,
Dead, which also
surprise.
just ended last week. Their final issue of the
Oh,
comic.
they stopped walking!
Yeah, they started running. The Running Dead,
they sat
issue
down
1.
to rest.
No, I'm kidding. But yeah, so Marvel Zombies is a thing, and I think they're bringing Marvel Zombies back this October. Not from Robert Kirkman. I think there's been a number of people who've
Mhm.
written the book, but yeah, it's the like, what if the zombie apocalypse happened in the Marvel universe stuff? So
Mm.
yeah, good stuff, fun. So yeah, the stuff kind of calms down. Nick Fury shows up. They capture Mysterio, and Nick Fury is cleaning things up. He's like, all right, what exactly happened here? Who else knows all of this stuff that happened? Because we need to make
Mhm.
sure we this doesn't kid out. It's top secret stuff, right?
Yes.
And Peter's like, I don't know, this, that, and Nick Fury's like, who did you tell? And he starts getting more and more stern, and then that's when I'm like, oh shit, the illusion is
Yeah.
not done, and that's exactly it.
What?
The
Yeah,
illusion is not finished,
it's like
and that is the type of stuff that I want, like more of that.
more, like, don't just give me one, "Huh, it was all a dream." Wait, me thinking it was a dream
Used to
was a
read Word
dream.
Up
Now I'm
magazine,
really
yeah,
awake. I
yeah,
said, I'm like, I didn't expect this to be Inception, but, like, deeper. We must
and
go deeper.
Peter is like, once he starts to get sterner and be like, no, who all did you tell?
Mhm.
Like Peter starts backing up. He's like, all right, something's wrong here. Something's still not right. And unfortunately, he backs himself up onto train tracks and gets hit by a gosh darn train.
This is the second Spider-Man sequel to involve a train.
Right? It does not end in Peter Parker on the front being like, yeah. It looks like it just knocked it, wiped him out. But
Yeah, I'm surprised.
I mean,
Peter,
you often forget he has super strength and he heals a
yes,
lot
yes,
faster and
this
stuff like
movie,
that.
like,
So
really pulled that out a lot more than the previous movies did. I'm like,
yeah.
"Oh, he's strong
Though
in this one."
I did hear a number of people being like, yeah, he has super strength. He was there fighting with Thanos, like making sure he like didn't bring his arm up, and he could hold him there. And yet he gets his bell rung multiple times by a bell. Like, what? No, that's not how that works. That's not how super strength works. I mean, sure, it still hurts, but like, it's just like, that's not. Come on, guys.
Remember when he
Yeah,
beat Venom with a bell?
yeah, yeah. That
Okay.
because it doesn't like
I just
sound frequencies.
no, I mean, when you think back on Spider-Man 3, you're just
Oh, I'm
thinking about,
thinking of the
like,
comics. I don't even want to think of Spider-Man 3.
well,
Don't mention that. How dare you?
no, too late. Like, when you think about that movie, you think about, like, the wacky dancing scene. You forget about all the other bananas stuff that's in that film. Like, oh, yeah, he just beat the villain using a large bell.
But that has precedent in the comics, though. Is
Mhm.
is 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 the thing? So
I get it. Makes sense.
so yeah, Peter does end up being alive, though. He crawls up the side of the train, passes out, and then wakes up in what is the best advertisement I have ever seen for the Netherlands. He wakes up in jail.
Pleasant.
He wakes up in jail in the Netherlands, and yes, it is pleasant.
He's just surrounded by these chaotic good football hooligans that are all dressed up in team colors.
Welcome to the Netherlands. I can't do their accent.
We all speak English, happy to have you. Well, welcome to jail.
Yeah.
Like they were just thrown in the drunk tank, but now they have sobered up and they're just having a good day.
Yeah, it must have been there was a football match and they won and they partied a little bit too hard, but it's just the town hooligans. We know who they are, That's exactly the vibe. It's Steve in there again, or whatever their names are. Peter is like, all right, well, I still need to tell Nick Fury and all that stuff. So he escapes. He just breaks the lock and walks out.
And then they carefully put the lock back like, oh, we're not here to break any rules.
Yeah, like, oh, we're going to get in trouble. And so, yeah, they shut the door because they're like, what is happening? What is going on? But yeah, and then he goes to like borrow someone's phone and like calls Happy and
it's very polite and happy to give directions.
Yeah. And say the name of their town, which I cannot say.
Oh no, I can't either.
And if I was Happy, I would be. Can you spell that? Like I'm surprised we didn't see that. Be like, Can you spell that out? I don't know what you're saying, but yeah. So, Happy comes and picks up Peter in the Netherlands. It's a big heartfelt reunion. This is where I think you have the heartfelt scene, which it makes it an incredible movie, but was also one of the reasons why I was like, this absolutely could have been the start to Phase 4. It is the hey, you don't need to be Tony Stark. You don't need to be Iron Man.
Yeah,
you need to
Tony
be Spider-Man.
Stark could barely be Tony Stark.
Exactly. So it's a real heartfelt moment. But they're like, all right, we got shit to do. Let's go do the shit. And Happy is like, hey, you need to make a new suit.
Let me just open up this, sliding door in the back of the private jet plane. There's an entire suit building station back there.
And the Avengers theme plays while all that happens. And I'm just, like, in my mind, I'm just like, yeah, he's an Avenger. Fuck yeah.
Our boy.
Yeah. And so he goes back there to make some suits. And
I just want to say there's a lot of very sweet, heartfelt moments in this movie. My favorite one is Happy just stops and just looks at Peter building his own suit with just this absolute like pride and fondness, nostalgia. It's really beautiful.
Yeah, because I mean, there are certain things about him that.
What?
Yeah, I mean, there are certain
just
things.
Just build your suit, kid.
There are certain things about him that do remind him of Tony Stark, and it ends up being the exact same things of like he doubted himself every step of the way. Like he didn't even know if he could be Tony Stark, which is exactly what's happening to Peter almost. Like instead of him thinking he can't be Peter, he's thinking he can't be Tony Stark. But it is this crippling self doubt. But then when you get them in front of technology and science and all of that stuff, when they are in the zone, they know exactly what to do. And he sees that and he's just like, single tear. This is great. But yeah, so he starts building a new suit, and there are some Easter eggs there with all the suits that pop up and stuff like that. I think one of them, if I'm not mistaken, was the suit from the Spider-Man PS4 game.
I'll take your word for it.
Which was neat. I thought I saw it, but I could be wrong there. But that was neat. So he makes the new suit and he goes flying out of the ship to go fight this last giant
the Voltron of elements.
Yeah.
By its powers combined.
Voltrelement. man. Voltrelement man.
It's, just a hot, wet, sandy wind guy.
Yeah. Wet, hot American summer. That's what we should name him.
Wet, hot European vacation man.
Yeah, exactly. So let's see. Meanwhile, the class is they're on their way back home. They're flying to London, which is where this new monster is, because they know that MJ is gonna be there. I guess Ned also knows, because that's what he tells Nick Fury, who turned out to be Mysterio, in that one scene. So he's after the class instead. So Peter Parker is flying in to go save the day, but they figure out that they are in London thanks to Flash Thompson being a streamer.
Yeah, because Peter doesn't want to contact any of his friends to find out where they are, because he's like, oh, he's got Edith. He's going to track me texting them using Edith.
Hey there, Flash Mob. Welcome to
So he's like, I can go
just
find
tune
Flash's
in
Twitch
to the
account.
live stream. Yeah.
That won't show up on the Edith sensors.
Which is fantastic. So that's how they find him. Peter plans to get inside the illusion and kill all of the drones, using the electric, the like shock webbing that he has there. So that's what he is up to, and he gets a good hit on it. He destroys a lot of them to kind of knock it out, but the class is trapped on the bridge while the monster is attacking, so they have to go escape and all of that stuff. Happy goes and he picks up MJ and Ned and Betty as well.
He says, I work with Spider-Man,
yeah,
and then Flash is like,
right.
You work for Spider-Man?
Right, yeah. And they are running from the drones. They go and they hide in this vault. But so here's another plot point that I didn't really pick up on exactly. Peter's spider sense. So in this movie, instead of calling it the spider sense, they've been calling it the Peter tingle.
Yeah, that's what May calls it, because
and
she also thinks,
what Happy calls it by way of Aunt
Strange.
May. Yeah.
I love that she's got the classic mom thing of, I've got 70% of what you said.
Yeah, right. I don't understand this, but I'm your mother. Except she's not the mom, but
not the mama.
Yeah, so like, they're calling it the Peter Tangle. Now, the podcast that I listened to said that Peter didn't have his spider senses the whole time.
He's always had them. He's just
I didn't pick up on that. There is the scene where Aunt May throws the banana at him at the start, and he's like, I'm stressed, I'm doing all that stuff, and that's what they used kind of as their basis of like, oh well, he's not confident in himself, he's too stressed, he doesn't want to be Iron Man, you know, all of that stuff, and so he has performance anxiety, so to speak. And while that's not, there is precedence for that in the comics, I didn't really pick up on that, because it's usually just when he's in danger is when it happens. So Aunt May throwing a banana at him isn't gonna set off his...
Yeah, I think his spidey sense turns on during real fight or flight scenarios, or when he like actively chooses to pay attention to it.
Yeah, but so, I mean, that being said, I wouldn't put it past him to have a little bit of performance anxiety now, because he isn't all, he's like, I don't want to be the next Spider-Man, but now he's like, now I'm gonna be the next Spider-Man, and so he has his Peter tingle back. But yeah, so that was just one of the things when they were talking about that. I was like, I didn't read it like that, if that makes sense. So Spider-Man is swinging around the bridge fighting a bunch of the drones and stuff like that, and eventually he's facing off against Mysterio on the bridge. And with all of the illusion stuff, he just Mysterio basically makes it so Peter can't see the drones, and he's just in this like pitch black like room, which is then when he uses his spider senses to figure out where they are and all of that stuff. And that scene was awesome. That scene was so good. Where he's
yes, more.
And yeah, like that I think was a neat mix of both the illusions and the use of the spider sense to actually sense where these things are, or where the immediate danger is going to be coming from next. So I thought that was fantastic. That was that was an incredible use of that scene there. But Mysterio does end up being shot by one of the drones, which is then when we get one of the last illusions, because the camera cuts away, and next time we see Mysterio, he is on the ground, with this gunshot wound. He's not moving much, and as Spider-Man walks up to talk to him, Peter Tingle goes off and he knocks away Mysterio's gun, because he's actually standing right next to him with a gun to his head. Fantastic. Yes. I like that stuff. And that's kind of it. Mysterio dies of his injuries. And that's the end there. They have their final thing, and Peter gets the Edith glasses back, and he sends all of the drones back up to space, back into that satellite where they're supposed to be.
Oh yeah, the satellite. I'm like, space.
Yeah, in space,
just up there with the Nova Corps
orbit or something. Yeah. So MJ and Peter reunite on the bridge. This is where MJ finally confesses that she also likes him.
I wasn't paying attention to you just because I thought you were Spider-Man.
Exactly. And they have their like awkward moment. Should we kiss? Should we not? And then they do kiss, and then it's like a short little peck, and they're like, was that good enough? Should we kiss again? I don't know. And then they do.
Yes, I love like, okay, the hors d'oeuvre kiss was satisfactory. Now let's move in for a full entree kiss.
Yes, exactly. And it's that like awkward, lovable, like, yeah, they're finally kissing, all of that stuff.
It's very sweet.
Yeah, one of the things I also missed, but I saw in like an Easter egg roundup, is that MJ is often seen wearing a shirt with a tiger on it.
Yeah.
Which the very first line of hers in the comics, when we actually get to see her face, is "Face it, Tiger, you just hit the jackpot."
Yeah.
Because Aunt May had been like hyping her up for months.
Just like, hey, one of my friends, her niece is in town. I just want you to take her out, and just so she's got some company, some kid her own age.
Yeah. She's wanting to set them up, and Peter's like, I am having none of this. I am a man of science. I am too busy. I do not believe in witches. And then he's on his way to go do something, and he opens the door like right as she rings the doorbell, and so he opens it up to her, and it finally shows what she looks like, because for months like all you could see was her legs, as the rest of her was like hidden behind a plant or something.
Steps out from behind the plant, and it's just more plant.
Right. But no, so yeah, there's that little Easter egg where she has on a shirt with a tiger on it there. So he's like, all right, well, I gotta like go do a little bit more Spider-Man stuff, and she's like, right, I should go get back to everyone else, and she leaves, and she picks up the mace that she has, because just in case.
Yeah, because they were hiding. They were in London, and they were hiding in like
that vault.
crown jewels vault because Happy's like, that place will have the thickest walls anywhere around here. We have to
Which, by
go in
the
there so
way,
the
like
drones can't get us.
his thing where he picks up the shield and tosses it and it like falls over. How does
That was
Cap do
rad.
that? Was amazing. This is
Mhm.
so funny. um, so so yes, they have their they reunite there. They go their separate ways. I do also have to say he gives her the black dahlia, but by the end of the film, it is smashed to pieces, and she's just like, I kind of like it
Yeah.
broken more, which is
It has
totally
like
something she would do.
5 petals left on it, and she's like, broken.
Yeah,
Rad.
yeah. Um, so back at home is when now they've flown back to New York. Um, Betty and Ned have broken up.
Just
Peter doesn't
amicably.
know. Yeah, amicably. They've lived, they've laughed, they've loved, they've moved on.
I I love that they're just like they're separated, but there's no change in tone. Like they
Right.
still treat each other exactly the same.
Exactly. So funny.
They're they are a rock that the rest of this franchise can rest on. You will always be able to count on Ned and Betty.
Yeah, exactly. And Aunt May picks up Peter. There was a weird scene in there that I didn't really know why they put it in there. Was the scene about Flash? Did you catch that?
Yes, yeah, I thought that was really touching because, like, okay, so the kids, they've just been through this big disaster in London. They're finally on their plane back home. When they get to the airport, in New York City, everybody's friends and family are around, and there's just
Because
a
they've just been
butler.
in
Yeah,
danger and all this
and
stuff. They're
like,
like, oh my
no,
god, you're safe.
there's just a butler there for Flash, and Flash says,
Or
"Hello."
just someone to pick him up because it's
Yeah, it's
someone with a sign.
oh, he knows him by his first name basis, so I got the impression this is like his
Okay.
Jarvis or whoever. He's like, "I see mother could not make it." And then one of these Easter
Which
egg
he is
videos.
from Money, but like, well, in this version, we know he is the like rich
Yeah,
snob. But
yeah.
what were you gonna say with
I
the
watched
Easter
one
egg
of
thing?
the Easter egg videos that said if you look really closely during the bus scene where Edith is showing Peter like everything that's going on in everybody's phones, like Flash is texting his parents saying, "Hello, mother and father. I haven't heard from you in quite some time."
Was that
So
him or was that MJ?
no, that was Flash. I don't know what
Okay,
MJ was up to. But yeah, it seems like Flash is like
I don't know
he
why I
is
thought that was
very
MJ.
well-to-do parents that basically ignore him the entire time.
Yeah, yeah.
And it seems like in the video posited like this could be a variant on the Osborn family.
I heard something similar. I don't think it's gonna turn out that they are the Osborn
Yeah, I don't know if
equivalent,
they'd smash them together,
but
but
yeah, so that they could work for Oscorp or
mhm.
something like that. We don't know because we haven't seen them. I just thought that we like it seemed a little bit of an odd thing to put in
Oh,
there.
I really liked it because we've
Oh,
seen
I
Flash
yeah. Don't
just
get me
he's
wrong.
just
I
been an
liked it too.
absolute jerk. Like he's so self-centered. He's a dick to everybody, but he needs the attention of his flash mob. He's streaming everything, and we don't know. Does he actually have followers or does he have like 3 people and he's like, "You guys, you're fam." And he looks up to Spider-Man with this absolute like sincere childlike hero worship. Like it
Spider-Man's amazing. What's up,
yeah.
dickwad?
Yeah, like, it doesn't click in until you see that scene with the butler or the hired help or whoever it is, like, "Oh, you're extremely lonely."
Yeah,
And it's not because you're an outcast necessarily, like, your own family does not seem to care about you.
yeah.
It's rough.
Like it's great character development. It's just
Yes.
there's so little of it,
I
but
think
yet
it
it was
was
so impactful that it's like I want more of that. That's
yes,
really
yes. I
interesting,
really hope, like, Flash
but it's just not enough. And so I was just like, why? If you're only gonna give me these two little small things,
no,
why
I
even
liked
put
it.
it in this film?
I think it was
I
an
don't know.
appropriate just, like, little taste, and then,
Maybe we'll
we'll
see
see
more in
in
the next film.
Spider-Man 3 or whatever the next film is available, we're gonna get more Flash. I like Flash, like, he's really entertaining,
Oh yeah,
and I am very excited for the point when he figures out, "Oh, Peter Parker and Spider-Man are the same."
yeah, yeah.
What does he do then? Then he's gonna be an ally. Then he's just gonna like, I'm on your side, Pete. Fight with you to the death. Spider-Man's my number one boy. You call him
Yeah.
Flash Thompson for anything.
Who knows? Who knows what's gonna happen? So let's see. Where am I in my notes? Back home, Spider-Man sits down with Happy and Aunt May to have a talk about what the hell is happening, and it is the classic one answers yes they are dating, one says no not really, it's just a summer fling.
Yeah, and she's like, they could go somewhere. Somewhere also includes nowhere.
Yeah, and he's just like, all right, this is stupid, I'm gonna leave. So as they're both talking over one another, he just gets up and walks away. And so he goes to swing around town, and he ends up picking up MJ and taking her on that very like Superman-esque scene. I'm gonna take Lois around and fly, and it is kind of exactly what you would expect, where she's just screaming the whole time, like, oh my god, don't put me down.
Yeah, I like that MJ is so like cool and tough and unflappable, but I like that even she is like, oh no, flying through the sky on a web is very frightening.
It would have to be.
Yes.
Especially if it's like, if you're not the one actually doing it, if you're only holding on for your dear if you're only holding on for your dear life, that would be horrifying.
I like that they didn't make her so tough that she is unfazed by slinging around. I like that she reacts to it in a very normal way.
So there is an Easter egg in this scene.
Oh yes, it's the building sign.
The building sign. I didn't catch it in the movie. I knew something was gonna. I was like, I bet you there's gonna be something here. They're gonna go past like the old Avengers Tower, and then it's gonna. And they showed it, but they didn't show enough of it for me to recognize it, or to
because like it's the top of it that's really recognizable, and we don't see the top because what if there's a new company name up there?
Exactly,
like,
which is what I was hoping
Osborn,
for.
Baxter, who knows? We don't get to know yet.
Yeah, and so that's what I was expecting, because I was seeing a bunch of stuff on Twitter of just like, who owns the Avengers Tower now? All this stuff. Maybe we'll see it in Spider-Man Far From Home. And I guess they didn't go to it. That's strange. I thought they were going to do it. But then, I had to like read up afterwards. Oh, they landed or like went past it right in front of it, and it was just like you saw the base of the building, so it's almost not recognizable. But there is a bunch of construction going on, and in that construction, there are these like paneled out sections that say,
just sort of
we
like
can't wait to show you what's next, and then it says 1, 2, 3, and then there's a question mark where the 4 would be.
Yeah, and I noticed that. I thought it was just like maybe something real in New York City, just like the traditional classic sign to hide a bunch of constructions like, we're working on building the magic. Apologies for the mess. I thought it was real. And then they're like, oh no, like that is a direct Marvel metaphor for itself.
Well, that's there's two prevailing theories of what it could be, and it could very well be both of them at the same time.
No. Oh, it just clicked for me with it's 4.
Exactly.
It's 4.
So 1, 2, 3, and there's a question mark where the 4 would be. So one theory is that, it's the Fantastic Four that bought it. So instead of the Avengers Tower, it would be the Baxter Building. Which would be amazing. And I think that would be perfect. The other theory, I guess I should roll back what I said a little earlier, that they could both be the same thing. I guess what I meant was like, this is also potentially self-referential to this is the end of phase 3 and phase 4 is coming next. So we can't wait to show you what's next, because they haven't announced anything. We don't know.
We have like a week
and
a half left, Kyle. And then we get to know.
There's Comic-Con, there's D23 coming up too. I'm sure we're going to get a whole bunch of stuff. But yeah, it could be self-referential to that, of just like, hey, phase 4 coming soon. We can't wait to show you. And so that is what I meant, is like, what if phase 4 basically starts out with them making that the Baxter building, and we keep hearing about the Baxter building and what
Can
they're
I
doing over at the Baxter building.
can I stop you for just 1 second?
Yes.
I know that the Fantastic Four's headquarters is in the Baxter building. Who is Baxter? What is that? I
Good
don't know why the
question. I
building
actually
is
don't
named
know off
that.
the top of
Because
my
like none
head.
of them are named Baxter. I can't think of a character named Baxter. I have just like very basic layman knowledge. So they're, you know, some big forehead out there probably knows exactly what it means.
Yeah, some big fantastic forehand is fantastic forehead. Great. Um,
This is
the
why you hired me.
The Baxter Building is a 35-story office building appearing in Marvel Comics. The building is depicted in Manhattan. Its 5 upper floors house the Fantastic Four headquarters. Publication history first appeared in Fantastic Four 3. Blah, blah, blah is...
Who's Baxter?
Let's see. Located in the... Blah, built by the Leland Baxter Paper Company in 1949.
Is this plot relevant? Like, does this really matter?
No, so it would be like, what if that's the Dunder Mifflin building and it just has nothing
it's just like a corporation name, like Sears Tower or something
Exactly,
like
yeah.
that. Okay, I didn't know if that
Exactly.
was like, if Baxter was a character I was supposed to know, if that's like another Kingpin or something.
Not that I know of.
Okay.
But yeah, so that's one thought. It could be the Baxter building. The other one is the Oscorp. That could be a new Oscorp building. That would also fit in really nicely.
Yeah.
Either one, we'll see. Because we still don't know. We still haven't heard from the Osborns. We haven't heard anything from them. My theory was that it was like we would have seen them in this film, and it was going to be one of those things that Harry Osborn was 5 years younger and aged up into their class because he did not get blipped, and so we were going to see him for the first time. But that did not happen. So yeah, that's end credits happens right there. And then we
After
get our
all
two
this glorious, joyful swinging.
Yeah, and then we get our first end credit scene where Peter puts MJ down after swinging through the city. She's like, "Never do that to me again." And he's like, "All right, I won't." And then he's like, "I gotta go." And as he's about to go, that's when the video monitor on some New York
like
building,
Times Square, something like
pops
that.
up. Breaking news, ladies and gentlemen. And I knew from the voice right away. I was like, yes. And it is J.K. Simmons as J. Jonah Jameson. And this time he is more like this InfoWars Alex Jones type of character.
Yeah, where he just has like a quote unquote news website that's more like conspiracy theories and like rumors and hearsay and
which so in the comics, eventually he left the Daily Bugle and started his own I don't know if he started, I don't remember, but he ended up joining more of like a news station, like a TV news station. And then in the Spider-Man PS4 video game, he is almost that like InfoWars type of character where he's just spouting nonsense and on podcasts and stuff like that, and you are you're subscribed to his podcast, so whenever he puts out a new one, it just starts, "Today Spider-Man blah 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 blah, he's denying this, it's all fake, blah blah blah." But he is this kind of tabloid, I'm just gonna spout whatever nonsense I want, and he has somehow gotten his hands on doctored footage of Spider-Man killing Mysterio,
Yep.
and doing all of this stuff. So it's this big twist that it like Mysterio just didn't die of his own hubris and
Mm-hmm.
his own gunshot wound, but it was actually Spider-Man that killed him. And I'm like, that's not what
Spider-Man ordered
happened.
this drone strike on London.
Yeah, and that's that we know that's not what happened. But then Mysterio like looks at his little camera and he's like, Peter Parker is Spider-Man, and he outs them all, and like more credits after that, and it's just like,
That's
oh no,
big stuff.
that is huge stuff.
It's so incredibly plot significant, and I like that this series began with Tony Stark willingly deciding to say, "I am Iron Man,"
Yeah,
and this
he is
entire,
the only
you
one
know,
with
this
a
entire Infinity storyline ends with, "And that guy is Peter Parker."
yeah, yeah. He was the only one with a secret identity in the MCU,
Yeah.
and now he just got outed by this fake video, right?
Mhm.
Um, which I didn't think they were going to out him in Civil War, but in the
No.
comics in Civil
Yes. Volunteers.
War, well, it's the same kind of thing where Iron Man recruits him to be that
Mhm.
side, and he's like, "Here's why you should register, because I'm Peter Parker, and I've been Spider-Man since I was 15." And it's a big deal. And shortly after that, when he realizes he probably shouldn't have done that, that was a little stupid mistake, he goes to Doctor Strange to help him be like, can we erase everyone's minds about all of that?
You just pull out your mind wipey dealy from Men in
Yeah.
Black.
Yeah. So who knows if they're gonna somehow walk it back or not? Because does the MCU really want secret identities? They've kind of made it a thing not to have that stuff.
Not really. I think the only person that really has a secret identity is Black Panther, kind of.
No, I wouldn't say that at all, because it is the tradition that whoever the king of Wakanda
But
is.
that's what they know within Wakanda. But like,
Well,
the
Wakanda has been out in the world for more than 5 years now.
Yeah, so at this point in the series, they probably know that, just the regular citizens of Marvel 1999. But like years ago, before, they're like, okay, Wakanda's free. There's like, it's weird that there's like this cat man running around, and like nobody's out
Yeah,
there to say, I bet it's the Prince of Wakanda doing that.
well, yes and no, because it was one of those things where King T'Chaka, they knew who King T'Chaka was,
Yes.
but Wakanda is hidden. They didn't know exactly where it was. They knew it was some kind of African country, right? They might not have known about the actual Black Panther, because they didn't appear and stuff like that. And so when the Black Panther appeared, they didn't know who it was at first until Civil War, and then it was T'Challa who had it on. But yeah, so I don't know what they're gonna do with that.
Ultimately, Spider-Man is the only classic traditional secret identity in the ways we typically know it.
Yeah. That being said, I think this sets up a certain villain for Spider-Man 3. Do you know who I'm thinking of? Think back to the end credits scene of the first Spider-Man film. What happened?
Oh, Scorpion.
Exactly. And Vulture went to jail, where he met Matt Gargan, where he met Scorpion.
Yes.
And he was like, I want to know who Spider-Man is. And Vulture didn't exactly say, but he knows, so he could have already told him. But if he didn't, now this is public knowledge.
Yeah.
I think this sets up Scorpion to
Yes.
be the villain for Spider-Man 3. But
Mm-hmm.
who knows? Who
Yeah.
knows?
It's it's big news. And I have to say, so my friend and I, we went out to dinner.
Scorpion and Craven, because again, the whole
Yeah.
Dimitri chameleon thing. Who
Mm-hmm.
knows?
Mm-hmm. But my friend and I were out to dinner before we went to the movies, and halfway through dinner, I'm just like cutting a potato or something. I'm like, this is our first movie without a Stan Lee cameo.
Yeah,
It was
no
like a
Stan
really
Lee.
sad realization. But to have the absolute joy of surprise, J.K. Simmons is back to come
Yep.
in at the very end. That like, what a nice like. Okay, we've got something for you
Yeah.
here.
I was kind of surprised they didn't have him in like a picture or something in the background, because that's what the Marvel Netflix shows did. He's in. They don't do it for every season, but the first couple ones, there's a picture of Stan Lee in a police uniform,
Oh
and he's like
yeah.
the employee of the month in Daredevil when he
Yes.
goes into the police station and stuff like that. His picture is on the wall. So I they could have done stuff like that. That still would have
It'd
been
still
fun
be
to
nice to
spot the
see.
Stan Lee, right? But yeah, no Stan Lee, which I'm also fine with from now on. Though that whole Marvel Apes thing, the whole like Night Monkey Spider-Man
Yeah.
thing, was the last stuff that Stan Lee wrote for like Spider-Man Marvel stuff. So
Apes.
Marvel Apes. I don't know
Marvel
exactly
Apes.
how much he wrote, but in the little thing I read, they were like, that was the last thing that he basically wrote for Spider-Man Marvel stuff.
Wow.
So then we get our end credits, or like the actual end credits scene, and Fury and Hill are driving down the road, and Maria Hill changes into a Skrull. And then Nick Fury changes into a Skrull, and it is Talos and Soren. These are the main two Skrulls from the Captain Marvel film. And so yeah, they have been Skrulls this whole time, which I think is a fantastic twist.
Yes.
But then they call Nick Fury. I forget exactly what they call them about. It might be about the whole Spider-Man being outed thing. Was that it? I don't
Well, earlier in
now,
the movie,
but
there was that called him. No, Happy called him about the surfboard.
yeah,
I remember videos saying like, this could just be any throwaway joke. They just threw a ridiculous object that Nick Fury would never want in there, but also
it could be a
Silver
reference to Silver
Surfer.
Surfer. Yeah, which also on top of the 1, 2, 3, 4. We can't wait to show you what's next. Who knows? But yeah, so they end up calling the real Nick Fury. It looks like he's sitting there on a beach in Tahiti, is what it looks like at first. And do you know what this is a reference to, Melissa?
This sounds very familiar, but
This
the
is a
specific
reference.
scene, I can't pinpoint it.
This is a reference to Agent Coulson. When he dies in the first Avenger film, it just in the MCU movies, it seems like he dies, right? But the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. TV show spins out of that, in which they revive him.
Yes.
And he's kind of running S.H.I.E.L.D. Well, he's not. Eventually, he ends up running S.H.I.E.L.D., and that's one of the ways the TV show is not related to the MCU, because Nick Fury in the MCU is still he faked his death. He did his own thing, so technically he's no longer affiliated with S.H.I.E.L.D. S.H.I.E.L.D. got taken down, but then in Age of Ultron, S.H.I.E.L.D. came back. Who knows exactly? He just had those helicarriers laying around and all those agents. Who knows? But when they brought Phil Coulson back in the Agents of Shield TV show, he had this. All he could remember is that he has this like faint image of like, I was in Tahiti. Why was I
Oh,
in Tahiti? And it is that, yeah, it looks really really fake, like he's on green screen and
yeah.
stuff like that. And it turns out to save Phil Coulson's life, they injected him with um with
Cree blood. Yeah. Yeah, one of the videos
Kree
mentioned this.
DNA, yeah.
But I didn't
Um,
know that was like within the show his cover memory. Like, oh, Phil, you were in Tahiti.
yeah, and so it looks like Samuel L. Jackson is in Tahiti. What in the world? And then that goes away, and it's a fake thing. And yeah, he is out in space.
Yep.
With the rest of the scrolls from Captain Marvel, and it appears he is starting some kind of new intelligence division, which,
Perhaps it could be to monitor sentient worlds and to observe and report on them.
yeah, it could be a whole division of that. A sentient world observation report. It's the Sentient World Observation Response Department.
Mm-hmm.
And that spells sword, which is a big part of the
And you know
Marvel.
what?
It's
Now that Cap is out of the picture, Shield is gone. It is the Age of Sword.
yeah, which I mean
Is
they
there a
have
really
sword
prolific?
and shield. Were you gonna ask if there was a prolific character who's in
No, but like,
sword?
is there okay? Like, you think of a Shield, you think of Cap. Is there like a big sword guy? Like we had Heimdall, but is there somebody who's like
It
the
doesn't work
Zorro
the
of the
same as
MCU or
it
something?
doesn't really work the same. Where
Yeah.
like I wouldn't even say that Cap was really a Shield agent. He
No,
was,
no,
but he
no. But
wasn't.
like, what
Right?
I'm saying is like metaphorically, we have
Are
had Shield and we have had Cap at the same time. Cap is gone. Shield may be gone. Now is the rise of Sword. Do we get to see some new guy who's like, look at my sword. It's me, the
probably
sword
not.
hero. Just coincidentally, metaphorically, here comes a real sword.
Probably not.
Man,
There are
there's something
characters
like
who have
deep in
swords in there,
Marvel,
but
like Marvel comics. It's like, oh, we've got our own Zorro, but like he's an alien and he's blue and I don't know.
um, yeah, no, none. I think they
Anyone
would
can
really,
pick up a sword, I
yeah,
guess. Kraglin, you're sword guy now.
yeah. So he might be building Sword, which is a counterterrorism and intelligence
Hmm.
agency, but out in space. It is
Yes.
basically what Shield did for Earth, but for
Hmm.
aliens and space-based stuff. It's usually run by Abigail Brand, which I like her. I haven't read her much, but I liked what I've read. And Sword first appeared in Astonishing X-Men Volume 3, Issue 6, written by Joss Whedon, art by John Cassaday. So Joss Whedon makes his uh, return, I guess
Mm.
you could say. Um, but yeah, and he's just like, all right, guys, back to work. Where's my
Hmm.
shoes?
Where's my shoes?
That's it.
Yeah, so how long has he been gone?
I don't know.
Who else could be a Skrull? These are good
Yeah.
Skrulls. Are there more sinister Skrulls out
So
there?
that's
These
something
are the
I want to
questions.
ask you. Do you think Mysterio is actually dead?
I would hope not, because I think he's too cool.
But
Like
here's
there's
the thing: the
so much
rest of
more you can get out of Mysterio.
Christmas Story is still alive. The rest of his team is still alive. The Mysterio suit,
Yes.
the
Yes.
Mysterio suit was a projection, right? There's that scene where he's working on the choreography and he's in the mocap suit
Yeah.
and the Mysterio suit is flying around and then it like
Yeah.
it just like comes on him and becomes him. They
Mhm.
set up this idea that anyone could technically be Mysterio. They can set up
Oh yeah.
anyone to be in that position, and they all
So
work the stuff
whoever
around it.
so I don't think Quentin Beck was his real name. I forget if they told us what his real name is, but like that guy's Jake Gyllenhaal's dead. Mysterio could live on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. It could be something like that, or it could be that he is still alive and him he had multiple illusions
Yeah. Yeah.
running all
I
at once.
I really liked him. I think there's a lot more they could do with him.
Absolutely, absolutely. And then with the scrolls still being a thing,
Yes.
we don't know. And they so
This is what I want. Like I want multiple levels of what am I
I
looking at?
want
What's
Secret
real? What's
Wars.
going on?
I
What's an
want
illusion?
Secret Wars. Secret
Do you
Wars.
want
Give me
Secret
Secret
Invasion or
Wars.
Secret
Oh, yes.
Wars?
Secret Invasion. Thank you.
Secret Wars is bigger and wackier.
It's the Beyonder being like, pew, pew, I have action figures. You
Ex-
all fight.
exactly. I'm like, Secret Wars is
No,
the one
I
you
want
want?
Secret Invasion. Because, yeah, I mean, that's
Yes,
the thing.
me
Just as
too.
not every human is a good person, not every scroll is a good guy, which was kind of the twist of Captain Marvel. I was expecting the scrolls to be bad guys because that's what they are in the comics.
Mhm.
But yeah, or just like they are generally seen as bad guys,
Mhm.
whereas this they set them up to be generally seen as good
Mhm.
guys, but that may not always be the case. We don't know.
Yeah,
So
and then
who else is a scroll? Who else
it's
is
scroll versus scroll.
out there? Yeah, is Black Widow still out there somewhere? Did she really die giving up the Soul Stone? Who knows? We don't. Anyone can be a. They've been there since the 90s. Literally anyone can be a scroll.
Dang. Dang. What if it's just like somebody really mundane? Like it is Hannibal Buress. He was a scroll the whole time.
What if it's J. Jonah Jameson? J. Jonah is a scroll. Who knows?
I don't well, Kyle, you gotta tell me something so that I can know you're not a scroll in the future. Oh, and this is
No
something I saw
comment.
this is something I saw in the in one of these videos.
Mhm.
When they did that test in Captain Marvel, where she's like, "Okay, Fury, tell me something a scroll would never know about you." And he's like, "I can't eat diagonally cut bread. It's weird. I only like rectangles." And like I think it's in Age of Ultron where like they're all just hanging out at Clint's house. You see him making a sandwich and he cuts the sandwich diagonally.
Really? I didn't
Yes.
notice that.
Yes. I forget which video pointed this out. I did watch like 5 of these today, so they
That's
all run
funny.
together.
I'm looking through any last things. Yeah, they mentioned Dimitri.
Mhm.
Blah blah blah. The universe numbers. There's a bunch of street names out
Yeah.
in Italy that are based off creators of
That's nice.
Spider-Man stuff. They've written them or they've drawn them. Um, MJ's tiger shirt. Blah blah blah. I don't know. Oh, I guess there is a Spider-Man Noir comic, Spider-Man Noir comic, and that is if you've seen Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, he's in
Yes.
that, played by what's his name? What's his face?
Kyle.
Dude, look, I am telling you, I black out every single time I am on one of these things. I can't remember anyone's name.
Nicholas Cage.
There you go.
National
Nick
treasure.
Cage. Boop doop doop. Doop doop. Yeah, I think that's about it. So I liked this film. I don't think this was better than the first one. I'm as much as I loved that they did Mysterio. I think God, he's such a great villain, and it's like they
Yeah, like
nailed it. They
I
did it
love the way
perfectly.
he's used. I just would have liked more.
Yeah.
Like I just wanted this movie turned up to 11. And I think it is trying to do something very different than what Homecoming was trying to do.
Well,
It's going to be less standalone. it's going to be more like serving larger plots and larger arcs and larger mythologies and character
Well,
journeys and things like that. So it doesn't have quite the same
Homecoming
like
did the same thing. There was the whole scene of when Iron Man showed up. Tony Stark showed up. There is
Mhm.
Pepper Potts right there. There's Happy right
Mhm.
there. They use they're moving all of the Iron Man stuff. It is still very connected.
I I just think this movie has more goals than twist. Like Homecoming had a little bit more freedom to be, okay, we need to hit these points, but otherwise we can really be our own thing. And Far
Yeah,
From Home had like more check boxes it needed to check off.
possibly. I'm also kind of wondering if they got too involved in being like, oh, we have to have a twist. Which is why, like, as much as I love Mysterio and as much as I love that they nailed it, and
Mhm.
I just like you're setting a precedent that isn't necessarily what Spider-Man is about.
And I
It's a
think
neat thing for your movies, but if someone watches these films and then is like, oh, I want to start reading Spider-Man comics, like it that's not what they're not about. This like, oh, what's the big twist gonna be?
I think these aren't super twisty. Like the thing about Vulture is it's a very cool surprise. Everybody was taken aback by it, but you look and you're like, "Oh yeah, it was all there." Like it's not a Sixth Sense situation where it's like this is about the twist. It's just
Well,
like there's a capital T
you're right,
twist and then
that
there's
first
just
film is not,
yeah.
but then with the inclusion of Mysterio, you're starting to make a pattern of like, okay,
Mhm.
Mysterio is all about illusions and
Yes.
twists and like what's real, what's not, and like I, I'm I'm wondering if in the third film, if they don't do one, it's not gonna go over well. I don't know, because now you've set a precedent that two films both have a big plot twist.
I wouldn't call these things that big like I think they're normal like lowercase t twists that like any like
That twist in the first
well-structured
one made
movie
the
may
movie.
have.
Like that was
It's
the
it's
it was just
incredible. Like it is still I do agree with you. It's an amazing thing, but like that doesn't go up for me in the pantheon of twists.
oh, it does for me
I
absolutely.
love it, but I don't think it's quite that big, you know? And so that's why like I was slightly
There is
underwhelmed
no
just because I
like
know how, like, wild Mysterio can be, and I wanted it to be that wild, but I wasn't like, "Where's my twist?
no.
First
See,
movie had a twist."
I absolutely disagree with what you're saying. I think this is or that Spider-Man Homecoming is going to be one of the new like, oh, it's like a Sixth
Really?
Sense type of thing. Yeah,
Really?
absolutely.
Huh.
Yeah, yeah. Or just like when you're trying to explain like, oh, and there's a twist in this movie and you'll never see it coming. It's like Spider-Man Homecoming, right? Like they're not like at this point. Sixth Sense is a really old movie. They're like kids are gonna relate more to the Spider-Man film than they are to Sixth Sense. So who knows?
I don't know. I would have to ask a youth what they think, because like, when I think about the Homecoming twist, it's not like a
Hello, fellow kids.
"What? What?" It's not that, it's like, aha, I see."
Yeah, I mean it's still it's not. There's different types of twists. I don't know. Let's move on.
Yes, this is we've become we're a pretzel ourselves now.
Exactly. Um, did I have anything else to ask that I wanted to ask? Yeah,
Mm.
I think the parts for me that were almost boring was the kind of in Italy running around town doing that. Just like not it was a weird tone to me where it
Mm.
has this like fun music in the background and it's just like I don't like I'm a very I really like classic Spider-Man where he is in New York, he is in the streets, swinging around there, and it's not the same when you put him in another city. It's really not, and that's not to say you can't have good stories where he's outside of New York or something like this, because again, I think this was a fantastic story. But yeah, like it's weird to just for me to see him outside of that. It's weird for it to have this like happy-go-lucky fun, like
it wanted to take you on a
60s
romp
style, like
you weren't up for a romp.
Like, that's not really what I expect from a Spider-Man movie or story or comic. Like that's not what which I'm fine with them playing with the genre.
Think of them as romps, no.
Right, and like I'm fine with them playing with the genre or having them being like, hey, in the MCU, these are gonna be the films with the twist. That's fine, but like, as long as they can keep it up, right? Who knows? Who knows? That's all I have to say. I enjoyed it a lot. Good end to Phase 3.
Yeah, I had a really fun time with this one. I think that seeing J. Jonah Jameson back is that's going to be a cherished theater-going memory I will hold in my heart for years to come.
Oh yeah, for sure. Good
just
stuff.
Like that. My friend and I left the theater, and we're walking out, and we see all these people walking in, and we just look at each other, and we're like, they don't know yet. They don't know that now the world is different.
they have no idea that their beloved childhood is coming back.
It was great.
It was good. It was good. I had a lot of fun. Melissa, where can the people find you on the internet?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Wilkywit. That's WILKYWIT.
I am at Yo Kyle Springer on both Twitter and Instagram. We are at the Whatnauts on Twitter if you guys want to get updates about this show or any of the other podcasts that we do. We have multiple ones. You guys can go to thewhatnauts.com for more information. And if you guys like what we do here, patreon.com/thewhatnauts is where you can toss us a couple bucks.
Yeah.
You can get episodes early. You can get access to the Patreon exclusive live streams. You can get exclusive content. All sorts of stuff. Yeah. Good, clean family fun. All sorts of stuff. Let's see. We also do want to give a big shout out to the patrons at our $5 tier. So thank you to Sam and Christine for supporting us, for helping us out, making all of this stuff possible. It means a lot to us just to be able to not have to worry about money so much, and we can just focus on making content, making good 2.5 hour long shows here. Great stuff. Shows longer than the movie. Oh, last thing I want to say about the film end credit scene right here, right now. Did you hear about the movie runtime Easter egg?
No. What is this?
Add up every movie in the MCU, including Spider-Man Far From Home. Add up all of their run times, and it equals 3,000.
Kyle, I'm gonna cry for real.
I know. How?
We're living in the best timeline. This is where the real magic happens.
Like that is genius level stuff. Like I saw this about like a week ago or so, when like that like the run time information was out, and some nerd out there had a Excel document about how long all of these are, and it adds up to 3,000. And this is like phase 1 through 3 was all about Tony Stark and his legacy, and in Endgame there's the I love you 3,000.
What? That's so meta level.
Isn't that crazy?
This is like Da Vinci Code
wild
nonsense.
Yes, I love it. Wow. Best stuff, best Easter egg.
Good.
Yeah, that's it.
Mm.
You guys heard all of the spiel. Go like, share, subscribe. We will see you guys. I don't actually know what we're gonna be
Yeah.
covering next.
You and I definitely want to talk about Artemis Fowl because
Yes.
that's a favorite book of ours going way back.
That'll be
And
down
they
the road.
finally made it into a movie after 19 years.
Yeah. So be on the lookout for that. I don't know if there's going to be something in between that or
let's take
not,
a look at the schedule, see what's on the horizon.
Hopefully in a couple weeks or a month or so for a new episode of the Reactor Corps. Thank you for checking this one out. Adios, guys.
Bye.
What's up, Flash Mob? Welcome to the end of our podcast. If you guys liked it, go like, share, subscribe, sell your soul, tell a friend, comment below what your favorite part of the movie was. Go subscribe to our channel right up there. Go watch one of our other videos down here. We have a ton of other podcasts, and it would help us out a ton if you could go watch them, share them, like them, thumbs up, subscribe, all of that stuff that I just said like 5 times. It would help us out a ton. Thanks. Bye.